think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
With a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1 0
doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Well, good evening, and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, it's been one of those weeks, huh? It's been one of those weeks. And I don't know, I was trying to come up with some ideas that were, palate cleansers, a way to look at the world a little differently. And once again, not chase down the narratives they want us to, because, of course, that feeds into the egregore of, well, everything, of every single thing out there that's being built as a machine to be used against us. They want us pouring our time and energy into it. And I think, well, I don't think we have to. I think we can recognize the larger game as part of it. I think we can recognize tragedy when we see it. And I think, of course, we're smart enough to understand the difference between all of these things that are always in motion. Of course, many are not. And I don't mean smart in the sense of, superior or inferior humans. I mean that some of them have been fully caught in the trap of the larger egregore. Okay. And so to look at this outside of the paradigm of, let's say, everybody else's actual talking points, let's talk about it amongst ourselves. Let's think about these things in different ways, and in something I like to call, and I've been calling this for a long time, and it's always on my mind, control mechanisms. Okay. Now I'm calling this tonight the invisible egregore, exorcising the unseen master. That's exorcising, not exercising. And it's wild, it's deep, it's weird, it's funny, it's not funny, it's all the things in between. Because, of course, how do you quantify a massive sort of conglomerate of ideas that is really become its own master and is now sort of puppeteering us? I don't know. I don't think there's a good answer for that, but I do think recognizing it is a very good way to start here. And so we're going to do that. We're going to look at this in a certain way, as usual. And we'll start with a meme. Everybody knows the meme. Oh, by the way, we are taking your calls tonight. If you guys want to be part of the conversation, 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. And all that stuff is, of course, on the website. You can find all of it right there. Okay, so anyway, we all know what a meme is, right? So a meme, the widely recognized as a viral idea, okay? A symbol that spreads online, but most people are unfamiliar with the larger version of it. When enough memes stack, enough of these ideas sort of proliferate, not just through the digital space, which is one thing, but of course it becomes these ideas, these memes that kind of start locking themselves into our brains, into our heads as propaganda and some of these other things we always talk about. But the larger context of this is the egregore, okay, which is a concept from Western esotericism. We've talked about it often in the show, in the past, but it describes a non-physical entity or group mind that arises from collective thoughts, emotions, and intentions of a group or of people. Now, the thing that I was thinking of with regard to this is not a new idea. Like I said, we have kind of traversed this often on Troubled Minds because it is probably one of the larger control mechanisms I can think of, the idea of this egregore. However, I think when you look at this from a different perspective, you can see that they are sort of out of control, these egregores, different ones in different ways. And we'll get to what that means, of course, and talk about it. But the thing that I was thinking of is very obviously we can spot an egregore in terms of like corporatism, like the McDonald's egregore, the golden arches, sort of the red and the yellow as the sigil and all the logo, all that stuff kind of baked into us as humans, modern humans in the West. We can sort of go, okay, we know what that means. It means bad food. It's terrible for you. It's, relatively cheap. Maybe it used to be, it's not anymore. Whatever. Like that's always changing, the idea of the corporate logo and that egregore of a brand, or the actual logo of like a NFL team, the Kansas City Chiefs, for instance. All of that, the color red, all that these are larger egregores in the sense of people's collective belief sort of power that larger situation. Well, I was thinking about it in terms of, well, what about the ones we don't know about? Sort of the invisible egregore. And what does that mean? And how do we recognize it as it's being built? Because clearly these things aren't just snap your fingers and it's a worldwide brand tomorrow, because that would be super easy and everybody would be doing it. And then there would be competing egregores in the larger context of, well, we're just trying to control each other all the time. Okay. However, you can say the corporate sort of masters or whatever you want to call them, those bastards that have all the money. And I don't mean that in the, kill the masters way. I mean that in a, share the love sort of way, give people raises when they deserve it type of stuff. But my point is that suddenly we are not equipped to deal with this because it is being dropped on our heads all the time. New ones, they change, they do think tanks, they decide that the old egregore is no longer effective or becoming less effective. So they tweak it. They tweak it within the algorithm. They tweak it within sort of the headspace of where they think the zeitgeist sits. But anyway, that's where my mind's at, where we start. The idea of an unseen or invisible egregore, okay? And how do we recognize it as it's budding, as it's happening, as these things are changing and going to be used against us, of course, because that's the way these things work. That's what's on my mind tonight. Sorry for starting a little bit late. Had some things going on, had some tech issues, always something breaking at the last second. Matter of fact, with that regard, I don't even know if we're on Kick. Something broke on Kick recently. So anyway, I'll look into that this week and try and fix it. But anyway, so some tech issues. We're a little late. Sorry about that. But anyway, that's what's going on tonight. I've got this idea that we'll get to it. We'll get to the idea of the invisible egregore and, of course, exorcising this unseen master. One, how do we recognize it? The first question. Two, if we can recognize it before it actually sort of becomes this larger contextual basis for control, how do we make it stop? How do we remove ourselves from that situation to not be caught up in the hoopla, in the control of the masters, as it were? That's what's on my mind tonight. Hope you guys are doing well. Let's take a quick break and get a word from our sponsor. In this case, that would be Human Inspiration. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds in exactly 1 minute. Again, my apologies for starting late, but here we are. We're doing it anyway. Be right back. More on the way. Don't go anywhere. In a world increasingly shaped by AI, Human Inspiration remains the beating heart of creativity. Alien Skin by Tremble, a hauntingly beautiful piano ballad, reminds us that while algorithms can mimic art, the raw, unfiltered emotions of human experience are irreplaceable.
So here I sit, locked in my room again.
Written and composed by Jesse Ian in collaboration with Todd Smith, this progressive masterpiece delves into the depths of internalized grief and the silent toll of artistic compromise. As AI reshapes our reality, Alien Skin stands as a testament to the timeless power of human emotion and the complex beauty that only true artists can evoke. Experience the haunting beauty. OBS studio disconnected and reconnecting. So if you're hearing chat, and I will see if I can, or, you know, we got some time, maybe we'll shut. So go outside the model here. But anyway, let me know how this sounds out there, and if there's any issues. I don't want to kind of do the start and stop type of stuff all night, because that really sucks. It's a terrible watch for you guys, and it's a waste of our time collectively. Anyway, I'm going to read a little bit from this write-up, because it is very good, and it starts exactly where we need to start, as far as my mind is concerned. As you know me, I'm always thinking of these egregores, or these control mechanisms, as I call them, right? And so I'm going to read it straight from the thing, because it is very good, and it is very to the point, better than me rambling on about it, okay? So here we go. An egregore is not merely a belief, not simply a mood or symbol. It is something stranger. It is a psychic entity formed by the focused thoughts, emotions, and intentions of a group. It lives on the edge of perception, invisible but persistent. Once fully formed, it begins to feed itself. The group gives it shape, but over time, the shape begins to shape the group, which is the most terrifying part about this. The word comes from the Greek egregoros, I believe, meaning wakeful or watcher. Back to the archons, right? Suggesting its original mythic weight. In ancient apocryphal texts, the Watchers were angels who fell to earth and shared forbidden knowledge with humans. The modern egregore is not an angelic being, but it carries the same suggestion of a consciousness that does not begin in the traditional sense and may not end. It awakens through collective intention and sustains itself through ritual, repetition, and belief. I'll leave that there for now. And so that's the deal with this. I was thinking about this not just in terms of, let's say, the old gods. We talk about the old gods a lot in this context of, not having truth. And again, it's a good time to actually drop all the disclaimers apply here. These are just ideas. Like, I don't have any special knowledge. I don't have anything other than I'm a human in this world trying to make sense of all the things that are always in front of us and always changing and always difficult to put our finger on and grasp with a mature modern mind. That's it. There's no truth here. I don't have any special anything. I have you guys as my secret weapon, as I've always said, because the best conversations come when people kind of disconnect from the egregore they want us to consider and think about ones we've created ourselves or are creating ourselves, or some of the ones that are maybe not gaining enough traction, and they should be. And so that's really what Troubled Minds has always been about. So no truth to be found here, just ideas, just conversations among, again, modern minds trying to make sense of a complicated world. That's it. It's very simple. So if you're here for truth, you're in the wrong place. That is a fact. And I'll continue to say that because I'm not here as some psychic guru or getting channeled from the whatever. Look, I'm not. I don't do that. I don't do any of that. Okay. I just try and think about things and wonder why things are so complicated when they shouldn't be. Anyway, so back to this. Now, back to the old gods. Now, the old gods, interestingly enough, are those ancient egregores in a lot of different ways. We've talked about this in different contexts throughout the years on Troubled Minds. But think of it this way, like Thor or whatever. I bring him up a lot because everybody knows who Thor is. He's back in the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as the modern egregore of what Thor is. Now, the god of thunder, the Norse god of thunder, of course, is where that came from. However, the new version of him is he's an Avenger, right? He's battling Thanos and the cosmos and trying to save the world here. And it's different, okay? It's not the same guy, but it is sort of a latent, resurrected egregore from a time long past. The same name, the same imagery, the same hammer, all the same stuff, right? He flies, he can invoke lightning and thunder and all the things. He's super strong. All that is the same, except, of course, the context is not. And so it's an interesting aspect when you look back to the old gods in that capacity and think, wait, now, if that were the case, what happens to sort of an egregore when it fades away? Which is another question for tonight as we kind of get digging into this, is that is it possible that these egregores that we're always sort of dabbling with are always there? They're waiting for us to sort of retune into them as a human, let's say a human psychic space, and then bring them back to us. And they're just kind of hanging out waiting at something like the ancient primordial nature spirits, is one of my favorites, as I like to call them, or something to that effect. What happens when an egregore kind of fades away? That really comes to mind as part of this. And in the larger context, the thing that really gets me is, how do we actually exorcise this unseen master? That's the biggest question tonight. One, how do we recognize a budding invisible egregore that has not yet sort of culminated into a flashpoint moment that causes a movement? And then second, how do we stop that from happening, at least from affecting ourselves? Because as usual, right, you can try and change the world, but the wise person, as they say, changes themselves. And then as a result, the world changes around them. Back to that observer effect and influencing others and your neighbors and your family and your friends and all the rest of it, okay? So you get what I'm saying here. Anyway, so back to this. Now, the bizarre part when I think about this and, you know, in light of recent events and whatnot, and I don't want to talk about that directly, okay? You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. However, I think it's important to look at it from a different perspective here. And it is, like I said, not just, let's say, a tragedy, but it is the behavior of the individuals around said tragedy, okay? Which are literally feeding these egregores into these fever pitches, into things that are beyond unsavory. I like the word unsavory, but it just gets worse and worse and worse than that. But anyway, so unlike a simple meme or idea, an egregore gathers mass through structure. And of course, that means it develops its own sense of identity. People who align with it begin to behave similarly, to think in patterned ways, and to reinforce the symbols that bind them together. Logos, chants, hashtags, and prayers become its arteries. In this way, it becomes a semi-autonomous. It is an echo with teeth. That's kind of less than poetic, but I dig it anyway. It does not need to be spiritual. A corporation, like I said, like Apple, or a nation state like the United States can be seen as an egregore. Like I talk about those dogma cycles, right? And I am not lost that I'm part of the 1776 dogma cycle. I live in the United States of America, in a lot of ways privileged, okay, to not have mass, let's just say, combat at my front door, okay, which happens in a lot of places in the world, and it's horrific, okay? But those dogma cycles are very much part of these invisible egregores, as I'm describing, but the United States is not invisible any longer. However, the Renaissance did bring about, in the budding aspect, as an example, as a budding aspect of the idea of liberty, as an idea of actual due process, as an idea that actually formulated into a true egregore, or dogma cycle, as I also call them, of 1776, okay? So you see what I mean? There are certain parts of history that sort of are really creating this invisible current of not just anticipation of the next thing to come, but also the ideas that kind of spark it and create it come from the people that are there, that are the influencers of the time, of the space, of the idea, that press it forward into the minds of everybody else. And then suddenly it reaches the fever pitch, and boom, you have, well, yes, you know, 1776. And so, for better or for worse, and I'm not even trying to say that or glorify any of this stuff, okay? Because again, there are revolutions and there are people dying and there's all these things. Not trying to glorify any of that stuff. I am saying that it's on us to recognize when these movements begin, when they start, and to not get caught up by them. Because if we do, it brings us to a path probably many of us dreamed we'd never see. And that's the unfortunate aspect of this. Anyway, so that puts us where we need to be. Love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. How do we recognize a budding invisible egregore? Something that has not gained its flashpoint in temporal society as of yet. However, is waiting for that one moment to turn on its head and truly radicalize a bunch of people who would not be if they were paying attention to what was happening around them and the influences that were reigning on their heads. That's that. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being part of this. Thanks for caring. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it as we go. One more time, 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org and we'll put you on the show. It is as easy as that. Sorry again for starting late. And yeah, that's it. What do you think? The invisible egregore. How do we notice it when it's happening? And how do we exorcise this unseen master? One more time. 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More after the break. Be right back.
Timekeepers watching, ticking down the days. Threads of fate weaving through our endless maze. Echoes of the past whisper in the breeze. Do we move forward or live our lives at ease? Sons of phantom on the run, counting moments one by one. Can't speak what must be done. Time's a race that's never won. Echoes of the future, dancing with the stars, chasing dreams behind the shadows, never too far. Feel the pulse across, can't stop what's begun. Through the storm of change, we rise to greet the sun. Sons of phantom on the run, counting moments one by one. Can't speak what must be done. Time's a race that's never won. Here we stand on shifting sands, facing time's relentless hands. Take a breath and let it flow. Embrace the path we do not know. Sons of phantom on the run, counting moments one by one. Can't escape what must be done. Time's a race that's never won.
I'm not sure I like that. What's up? Hope you guys are well tonight. Let's turn that off so you can't hear me. What's up, Gaston, Apoc? What's up, JJ? Roving Fungus, Dragon Rose, Akashik is here. Mephisto, that's Jacob. What's up, Dawn, Sweets, Daryl, and Hirsch. I see you guys over to YouTube. Thanks for being patient with me. Having a little bit of a tech issue tonight. Everything, as usual, right? When it comes to showtime, everything starts to break. What's up, Fred gets first on YouTube. How you doing? We got Shane. Good evening, guys. Hope you're well tonight. Ari the Cats. Sweets is there. Roving Fungus. Lots of the chat coming through. Eli, I see you. What's up, buddy? Oh, welcome. Hope you're well. Lots of folks out there. And of course, the Rumble chat is bumping per usual. What's going on? Part and parcel of the evil globalist Luciferian WF agenda. I think there's a lot. That's definitely an Egregore. Absolutely right. What's up, Cool Frog? We got Raz is here. Gordo, Theo. What is happening, folks? Hiker, good evening. Gordo, did I say Gordo? Raz, Hiker, Theo. What's up? If I missed anybody, thanks for broadcasting. Yeah, no problem. I mean, I could break. I just hate that, like I said, the stuttering and buffering and all this stuff. It's a waste of everybody's time. So that sucks. Let me know if that continues or it doesn't change. If I missed anybody, just say hi and I'll say hi back as we go. Good evening. I see you there in the chat. Here we go. Troubled Minds coming up. Like I said, I'm not sure we're going to, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I don't know. I don't think this is a flashpoint, massively high engagement sort of show, but I got to get it out of me. I got to talk about it, at least in the periphery. It's going to drive me nuts. So sorry about that. Love to hear your thoughts on this. How do we recognize an emerging invisible egregore? Here we go. Troubled Minds happening right now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're talking this invisible egregore. Now, when you sense a movement happening, okay, an actual movement, whatever that looks like I said, there's a lot of examples here, whether this is going to be some sort of, I don't know, like for instance, like I said, McDonald's was a good example of sort of a corporate movement that kind of, Ray Kroc in the old, late 50s, sort of early 60s, so the origination of a fast food sort of movement of a westernized thing that's kind of started with a good idea and then turned into pink slime burgers and just nasty stuff, right? But But still, there's still a ton of those happening. Like for instance, some of you guys on the West Coast and other places that have this would recognize In-N-Out Burger as one of these sort of massive egregore movements within sort of that space of fast food, for instance. And I don't know why people wait like an hour or whatever. Like when In-N-Out Burger moves to a new market, people will wait like an hour to go get a burger. I'm like, no thanks. If I'm into that, I'll wait till there's like, line or whatever, and then, check it out 6 months from now or something. But I mean, come on, like that's the type of stuff that it has this sort of hypnotic effect on people. And, we're just people. So it's not, like I said, I'm not a wizard, or I don't, profess any superpowers or anything. But looking at this stuff in that context and seeing these things kind of pop up around us, and then the way people react to them, there are movements, and they are invisible until that flashpoint happens. And in the case of, let's say, In-N-Out Burger, that would be when they open one in a new market, in a place where they've never had them, where it's novel. And, you've maybe traveled the country and had some when you were in California or something, thought it was really good. And they open one up in your town, and, they've never had them in your state. And suddenly it really becomes this flashpoint of this idea in the moment. And it's just a hamburger. I mean, you see what I mean? We are very, very sort of, malleable when it comes to these ideas and to these invisible forces, these unseen masters. And in some case, like I said, it is just a hamburger. It's something as simple, as stupid as that. But other times it's far more insidious and far more, let's say, deeply concocted. Okay. So I don't know what this means, other than when you look at this stuff, how do we recognize it? How do we recognize a movement before it becomes a movement that we can't stop? And a movement that catches us personally and drags us into the light, into that space, or into the darkness of that space. And that's what's on my mind tonight. As usual, love to hear your thoughts on this. I'm going to read from the article here, and I got tons of other stuff to get to, of course. But as usual, I'd rather hear from you, because that's the entire point of this. And so if nobody does call, I understand James is out. Usually James jumps in and helps me out a little bit. But if we don't get callers, we'll do what we usually do, which has never really happened, but I'll just end it a little bit early to take some pressure off of myself for dancing for 3 hours and kind of trying to make a 1,000 ideas out of a couple dozen. Anyway, so 702-957-1037. Love to hear your thoughts on this. Here we go. So these concepts, so back to this. So this idea of an egregore does not have to be spiritual. As I said, it could be a corporation like Apple, a nation state like the United States, like I said, the 1776 bit. And these are concepts embodied by shared beliefs, logos, rituals, yada, yada. But, and this is the best part, an egregore may begin innocently. A group shares an idea, puts energy into it, organizes around it. But if left unchecked, the thought form can develop a will of its own. In magical traditions, this is often warned against. A servitor can turn on its creator if not given limits. Likewise, an egregore can outgrow its original purpose. It can bend the group towards extremes or spiral into obsession. What begins as inspiration can harden into control. And not just control, an unseen control, sort of out there flowing in the ether that we don't even recognize has got us until it's got you. And then when it's got you, we have that thing, that human thing where we really, really, really desire to be right about things. Our ego demands it as part of keeping us alive. We've talked about that in the past as well. However, in this sense, in this particular sense, we hate to admit we've been fooled, or hate to admit we've gone too far. As infamously, Mark Twain said something to the effect of, it's easier to fool someone than it is to convince them they've been fooled. And in this particular case, when we're talking about these egregores, or the larger sort of movements in the human space temporally, not just in this moment, but over the thousands of years of where we came from, like I said, the old gods and whatnot, and everything else, nation states and everything that kind of goes with it, there is this space where we need to recognize it, and we need to step away from it, or at least recognize what's happening to us, or it does it gets you. And then once it gets you, can you escape? Because you don't like to ever admit you went too far or you've been fooled. And so that's what I'm talking about tonight. So what's on my mind, and how do we recognize these things before they sort of hit that flashpoint moment? And I'll read that in just a second here and tell you what that looks like. But I don't know. I don't know the answers to these things, other than I think number one is recognizing it when it happens. Because if we don't, I think the problem is ours. We've created a personal problem, a direct personal problem that we can't shake out of a larger movement that you may not even typically believe in, other than a surface level that got out of control. You see what I mean? Anyway, that's where my mind is at. Thanks again for listening and being part of the conversation. If you want to talk to me and to whoever else might be listening out there, love to hear your thoughts. 957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Let's go to Theo in Philly. What's up, my man? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you tonight? And go right ahead.
Oh, I'm doing quite well. How's my audio tonight?
Pretty good. You sound fantastic to me. Welcome to the joint. Go right ahead.
Yeah, no, I think this is a fascinating topic, the invisible egregore. And I think that something about the egregore, you know, that it is sort of a thought spirit or a thought form that is completely animated by humans also reminds me a lot about the zeitgeist. And I think that they are kind of intrinsically related, where the spirit of the times does actually become, in a certain sense, a true spirit, where it is in charge of things. And I think that our zeitgeist very recently has been breaking down, or at least for a very long time, at least in America. I'm only speaking for America and my personal thoughts on the matter. But for a very long time, just post-World War II, we had this zeitgeist or egregore that was in charge of our times, where there was this general prevailing attitude that the United States is a force for good. You know, we're not always necessarily correct, but, you know, we're always trying to do our best, and we're always going to be, you know, we were for a long time, you know, like the only force against the Soviet Union, which I thought was somewhat evil in a few ways. Not that we're not evil, but there was the idea that we had this spirit that we were going to prevail. We have American exceptionalism, and things are going to be okay. You know, we might have our little problems here or there, but in general, we're a force for good in the world. And I think that that spirit, that egregore or zeitgeist, has been breaking recently, where a lot of people are kind of waking up to the fact that we do have a lot of propaganda, and we are not just passively, not accidentally, but actually actively involved in a lot of the evil that's perpetuated in the world. And the thing is, you know, there's always propaganda, you know, like any government at all ever is always involved in propaganda, be that like a government from 2,500 years ago or the most modern nation state there is. But you can kind of like put up with the propaganda, and you can take the propaganda as long as you have this innate promise that you are going to be able to buy a house, and that if you do your best and work hard, you're going to have some upward social mobility. And there's no way that you can like really mess up too much, you know, like you can't really F things up as long as you always try hard and try to be a good person. But now, you know, people are being asked to swallow a lot of propaganda, but at the same time, they're using these weird, like, you know, apps like Klarna to pay for groceries. And everything's become so dystopic, and people are not certain of their future in any way, shape, or form. So people are also questioning the propaganda, like, wait, are we actually a force for good, or are we not? So it seems like that long sort of like post-World War II lull that we had, where we thought like we were on easy street and America was the best country in the world and always would be. And, you know, it seems like that's kind of coming to an end.
Yeah, well said, all that. And that's, so like I said, that 1776 dogma cycle, that American exceptionalism, all that is an egregore, absolutely. And even subsections of itself, sort of kind of spitting off this way and that way into the different political takes and all the rest. But as I said this before, too, during the election, it's like, hey, look, at some point you can only lie to us so much and say that this thing is affordable. And then you go down to buy the affordable thing and it's unaffordable. It's like, okay, so you're lying to us blatantly. We recognize what's happening on the street because we live here. And yeah, you're right. It starts to break down not just tradition and those old egregores. It creates new ones in a dystopian sense, as you're describing. Very well said, all that. And it is, for me, again, I'm 50 years old. And so I'm in this space where I should be, you know, sort of kind of wrapping down my workspace, and kind of the next 10 or 15 or 20 years tops, be retiring. Oh, really? Okay. I mean, you know, that's the old way, isn't it? That's the old way of this. And so as you're describing the new way, it's like, nice job, Mike. Let's say you made it to 75. Congratulations. And now you can finally retire for, a good 6 weeks before you kick the bucket type of stuff. I mean, it is very dystopian. It's very a grotesque pill to swallow when we're supposed to believe these things and they're always changing. And then, we're not supposed to be mad about it. You're absolutely right. And that's not why I did this and why I want to talk about it directly, but you are spot on about this. And that is exactly the type of egregore we're describing, because the old way has been bastardized by the new way. And the new way is not justice whatsoever. Well said on all that. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, and I think it's one of those things where for a long time, it was kind of trite, like a sort of conspiracy theorist meme to say, like, hey, man, both sides are the same as each other. You know what I'm saying, man? But now I think people are waking up to the fact that it's actually true, regardless of whatever your flavor of news that you want to consume. If you're watching MSNBC or Fox News, I think people kind of recognize that you're going to be listening to the same kind of like corporatist trash where they argue very vehemently against some issues, but for the vast majority of things, they're surprisingly similar. But regardless, so there's this new egregore or zeitgeist that seems to be awakening, and I don't think it's fully formed yet. And I think it's very important that we all think about what we want the future to be, because it hasn't been set in stone yet. And we do still have a chance to mold it as we want to, and we have to make sure that we're not molding it completely out of hatred and despisement for the other side, whatever we view that other side as being. And we kind of recognize that, there are certain people who are ruling us, and, we don't need to hate anybody. It's better, not to get too Christian about it, but to pray for your enemies and try to understand them, because they're not really your enemies. They're just people who are doing things for their own reasons, and their reasons might not be good, but that doesn't mean that they're inhuman. And I don't know, I think that there's a new egregore, a new zeitgeist, a new spirit of the ages that will subsequently be unfolding very rapidly in the next couple of years, and we have to all be conscious of what we think it should be, what we want it to be, and what it should be. We have some control over it. We don't have a lot, but it's just worth reflecting on.
Yeah, well said, all of that. And it's a perfect example. And I didn't think of it. You thought of it. I appreciate that very much, that we are seeing this invisible egregore of the future. It's forming now, and it's happening rapidly, as you described. And once again, if we sort of disengage from it or ignore it to the point where we become the victim of it, then you're right. Our input is null and void. It just becomes what it becomes, and we become sort of slave to a new master. Meet the old gods, same as the new. Or vice versa. Shout out, nice talker out there. But I mean, this is what we're dealing with, and you're absolutely right. And recognizing this before it happens, and then being able to put our own input into it again digitally. We're here talking. This is what brings me back. This is why I've been doing this for years, because this stuff is so important for us to think about, even if it seems ridiculous and esoteric, and we talk about ritual magic and all kinds of stuff, right? However, if we weren't doing this, we're sort of muttering to ourselves in the corner in a dark room, wondering if other people are even thinking in the same capacity as ourselves. But now there's validation that that's true. And so let's think about it, and let's change it, and let's participate, because it is changing quickly, and here it comes. The future is here, and tomorrow may be quite a bit more different than you ever dreamed. So pay attention. Absolutely. Fire stuff. What else you got?
Yeah, and I just want to say one more thing. I think that recently we've kind of gone from a place where 5 years ago, I've always tried to get my personal news from as many independent sources as possible. But, like 5 years ago, it was like 2020. And I was getting my news from like a Substack or somewhere even more esoteric than that. People would kind of clown on me and just be like, oh man, Theo, why aren't you watching something mainstream where you can get actual news? Why aren't you reading the New York Times? Why aren't you watching CNN or Fox News or MSNBC? To the point where we are today, where I think that the vast majority of people kind of clown on boomers for getting their news from MSNBC or Fox and, completely disregard them. I think that it's really important that we kind of remember that people did it that way for good reasons. It seems ridiculous with this kind of hindsight that we have. You know, hindsight's 20/20, so it's really easy to disregard older people's opinions because they were so trapped in the matrix or whatever you want to say. But it's important to remember that they were that way for a long time for a reason. You know, it's not because they're foolish. Like, humans didn't suddenly get smarter. And I think that's one of the things that we have to remember, you know, like, just because you're waking up to the obvious falsehood of a paradigm right now doesn't mean that the people who accepted the paradigm for the entirety of their lives were foolish or stupid. So it's like one of those things that I hate about, like, the intergenerational warfare that we sometimes see on the internet, where everyone's like, okay, boomer, ha, stupid millennial, oh, look at those Gen Z clowns. But yeah, I don't know. That's all I got. I just think that we need to reflect on everything that is happening and try to be as patient and nice and try to make the world better, and not evolve into just, like, you know, senseless hate for each other based on other people's opinions. They could be wrong, they could be right, but that doesn't mean that we should hate them regardless. Amen.
And well said, all that. And real quick on the boomer stuff, an interesting thing I was thinking of recently, and you made me remember this. This is a notion I've kind of been kicking around, and I'm with you 100% on we shouldn't create this generational war. It's part of these control mechanisms they want us to do. And no, I refuse. I absolutely will not engage in this. It's just one of those egregores I've checked out of. But they would have us do it. It's just one more way to divide and conquer. However, with the boomers, for instance, let's say that there was probably a little bit more justice, okay? That was at least maybe it was fake justice. Maybe it was sort of curated a little better through the media because they only had so many media sources that were, you know, kind of CIA owned and all the rest of it. Like, that's never changed. But you see what I mean? Yeah. And some of the money they spent for a house or whatever would actually buy them a house. You know, it wasn't a 70-year mortgage that you would croak trying to pay off, and then the bank just takes it back when you die. Like, that's not justice at all. So at least there was some level of justice for, you know, our boomers. You know, my mom and my dad are boomers. And so to be able to say that they did things poorly or whatever, no, they were doing things for the time they were given. And so it's on us, again, to recognize how that has changed, as you said, very smartly, and do something about it. Do anything about it. Again, no violence, no hate, none of that stuff, none of the stuff they would have us do, but recognize it and do some damn thing about it. Absolutely. Fire stuff. What else you got?
Oh yeah, just one more thing about how much I love Gen Z, because Gen Z I just think is hilarious. You know, they got, like, a lot of problems, but they're also just hilarious. But one of the things is Gen Z seems to be surprisingly somewhat immune or suspicious to online propaganda when it comes to, you know, people who are influencers, like, spouting their worldviews. Gen Z can kind of tell when somebody is being paid to do that, because that's, like, a lot of Gen Z's exit plan on how they're going to make money, because, you know, we live in this, like, economy where there's not that much upward mobility given traditional routes, and a lot of, like, Gen Zers kind of want to be paid influencers, so they know all the tips and tricks, and they can really tell when somebody is being paid to spout a point of view, because they're like, you know, oh, they got a sponsorship somehow. Like, how could I get the sponsorship? Like, I don't know. I just, you know, so you got to appreciate the younger generation, you know, like, as much as they have had their brains addled by just too much internet, which, you know, they can't control, it's not their fault. They also understand a lot about, like, how internet and social media works better than anybody else because they were raised in it. So I do think that they are surprisingly immune to some forms of propaganda. Not that they're immune to everything, but they are immune to some things, or more immune than other generations are. So
yeah, which is
just a shout out to the younger generation.
Absolutely, it's going around quite a bit more these days, and it's called CogSec, cognitive security, and recognizing when that sort of propaganda does come. And some of them, again, the digital natives have it built in. And you're right too. Let me point out the easiest way to spot a paid shill on the internet. They're wealthy. Ooh. They're wealthy. They have corporate sponsors. They have, again, it seems like they have all the right answers because they're on Easy Street, and they're constantly being backed by the mainstream media in some ways. And they echo talking points of the mainstream media. Look, I've been doing this for 7.5 years now. And let me tell you what, I've reached out to all sponsors out there that nobody wants to touch us with a 10-foot pole. Because you know why?
Really?
Oh yeah. I mean, we get independent sponsors. Again, shout out to some of the friends that have paid to have commercials on this show. But I mean, the corporate space is like, like, how is this going to affect me? Sort of, they look at as an ad spend, and they want some sort of ROI from it. And it could be an ideological ROI where you back up this party or you back up that party, you see? So it's one thing to tear things down entirely. And that's okay. Like, we've done a lot of that on the show, kind of pointing out where things are broken and wrong and both parties and all the things, right? However, they don't want you to do that. They want you to speak for one party and make the case for one party and tell you why one party is better than the other. And then you get into those aspects of sponsorship and contracts and all the rest of it. You can only say this, but you can't say that, which, by the way, there's a scandal breaking in last week of David Pakman. Anybody know the guy? Pakman, who has been outed.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, has been outed as being a paid guy from the from a political space. And so he's like, oh no, they paid me, but they never they paid me like $8,000 a month, but never wanted to curate my content whatsoever. I could talk about whatever I wanted to. And I'll tell you, that is BS, 100% BS, because that's not the way it works. They don't just throw thousands of dollars at people and just go ahead and make whatever you want. We're behind you 100%. Go get them, Tiger. That seems so stupid.
No, yeah, that whole Wired article by Taylor Lorenz was really pretty good. I'm not a huge Taylor Lorenz fan in general, but like, she did like a really good job on exposing some of the deeper money that's going into that side of the spectrum. But, there's money going in from everywhere on all sides of the spectrum. And I think it's important to know or have the ability to discern when somebody is getting paid over something, and it happens all over the place, but it's good to know. And that was also not to gripe about boomers, but I do want to gripe about one thing about boomers is just, actually, I'm not going to do that because that would be inappropriate for the show. But yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it very much. And yeah, I hope that everyone meditates and prays and just, thinks about where we're going and tries to make it into the better world, because the old paradigm, the old Egregore, the old zeitgeist is definitely on the way out. So let's try to make the new one as nice as we possibly can.
Well said. Absolutely right. I couldn't agree with you more. Thanks for staying up late. Thanks for the call. And always a pleasure. You have a great night.
All right, toodles.
Take care. That's Theo in Philly, the official poet of Troubled Minds, and a very smart guy, as you can tell. And yeah, very much a troubled mind and on the game here. And I think he's right. He sniffed out the turning zeitgeist, which is happening now. This invisible egregore that's being built right in front of our faces. And we are participating in it, whether we know it or not. So we may as well recognize it, participate it in the best of ways. And as Theo said, make something good out of it, the best we can. Because, well, nobody really knows the answers in this capacity. But anyway, yeah, fantastic call. And so, yeah, I don't know. Tonight, the topic is specifically that invisible egregore. How do you recognize it before there's a flashpoint that sort of brings latent ideas, kind of behind the scenes, small movements into the mainstream? Because there's always some sort of shock to the system, whether it's money. Sometimes it's money. Sometimes it's like a corporate backing through, politics or whatever. And by the way, just to even it out, David Pakman, I'm not a fan. I'm also not a fan of Timcast, but those guys were also recently in the last several months back accused of taking like Russian money or something. Look, I don't know if any of that's true. But again, nobody just throws money at you and says, go get him, Tiger. Whatever content you make, we're behind. Nobody does this. There's always an expectation when you're getting paid. Otherwise, why are you giving people money? Okay, anyway. But so we're talking the invisible egregore tonight. How do you recognize the budding space of the zeitgeist when it's about to turn? I think Theo pointed it out very well that we are in this space right now together, seeing it. It's turning. It's happening quickly. But what do we do about it? And then, how can you step aside from some of these other toxic ones, these toxic egregores? And that could be the NFL. Maybe you spend too much time. It could be Major League Baseball. Maybe I spend too much time reading baseball news. That could be toxic to my life. Okay, I got other things I got to do. You get my idea. So how do you find these things, identify them, and step away from them in your own personal human capacity? That's what's on my mind tonight. Thank you for the call from Theo. Fantastic stuff. If you want to be part of the conversation, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubleminds.org. We'll put you on the show. We got Herschel coming up, Derek the Night Stalker, and your calls as well. In that order, don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds on the way. Be right back. All right, let's play the news. Let's get back to the news here. Is this the one? Where's the one? Right there. No? Oh my goodness. Okay, here we go. I think it's this one. Here we go.
Let's check the news. New research reveals octopuses can use any of their 8 arms for various tasks, showcasing their incredible multitasking abilities. The study, published in Scientific Reports, analyzed footage of wild octopuses to catalog arm movements and deformations. Researchers found each arm capable of a full range of motions, with front arms favored for exploration and back arms for movement, but no left-right preference. This detailed inventory of arm movements could help scientists understand the complex neural connections that allow octopuses to coordinate their arms, and could inspire the development of soft robots for medical and other applications. Anthropic has agreed to a $1.5 billion settlement in a class action lawsuit with authors who accuse the AI company of using pirated books to train its chatbot, Claude. The settlement, potentially the largest copyright recovery ever, involves payments to authors/publishers for approximately 500,000 books. While a judge initially ruled that AI training on copyrighted material was not illegal, Anthropic's acquisition of books via pirate websites was deemed unlawful. The settlement requires Anthropic to destroy the downloaded book files and could influence other ongoing copyright disputes between AI companies and creators. Some argue the settlement is a positive step for authors, while others see it as a cost of doing business for AI companies. Anthropic, valued at $183 billion, expects $5 billion in sales this year, but hasn't reported a profit. Researchers have developed a new AI chip that uses light instead of electricity for convolution, a key AI process, resulting in 100x greater energy efficiency. The chip, which uses lasers and tiny lenses, matches the accuracy of conventional chips in early trials and could significantly reduce the energy demands of AI, paving the way for more advanced AI models. This optical computing approach also reduces computing time and allows for parallel data processing using different colors of light. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Indeed. What's up, guys? Hope everybody's well tonight. Thank you to our robot friends for bringing us the news, curated by yours truly, by the way. That's not just random. I picked those news articles out because I think they're important to what's happening. And yeah, like I said, a little more value to the show. Thanks for being cool and chill and hanging out with us and staying up late. Thanks for understanding me taking some time off and getting some other things done. Thank you for the call, Theo. What's up? If I missed anybody, what's up? YY's here. Raz, I see the real Jason Barker, Knights of the Storm. Good evening, guys. Thank you for the call, Theo. Great stuff as usual. The answers, few questions, many. I think it's a good way to be. And I don't know. As usual, there's a ton of ways to look at the world, and I think it's important that we look at them in a wide variety of ways. What's up, Ricky Gaston, Derek? We got APOC, Roving Fungus, Dawn, Sweets, Daryl, Dragon Rose, Herschel, Jacob, and Akashik. I see you guys. If let's see, so we got Herschel coming up, and Derek, and your calls as well if you're interested in this topic. Like I said, I don't know. This is a little esoteric. This is a little bit weird, but you guys are way smart enough to get it, way smarter than me. So yeah, that great way to kick us off, and love to hear your thoughts on this. Personally, it's been a rough week for me. It's been a rough week when bad things go down, and it's just like the stomach aches and just the stuff, when bad things go down and then people are cheering on bad things. It is not like a lot of loosh farming, as has been said by a good friend. Yeah. And just think about it this way, again, in the periphery of the conversation of what went down this past week. I'm a guy with a microphone. Okay. And I say some things that people don't like sometimes. Okay. And so clearly, directly, specifically, that hits hard. So yeah, it was not good for me this week. Anyway, I'll leave that behind us. And just to let you know, though, because I did not take any of that stuff well, any of it at all. Who'd I miss? If I missed anybody in the chat, just say hi, and I'll say hi back. Good evening, guys. What's up? Hello. Cheap followers. The bots are just relentless. What's up? What's up, Ari the cat? How you doing? Yeah. I mean, yeah, right? Kinda. Yeah, kinda. What's up? Who'd I miss? If I missed anybody, just say hi in the chat. Like I said, is it time to maybe, I don't know, sunset YouTube and do something else? Anyway, here we go. Troubled Minds happening. I mean, move over to the other platforms. Anyway, here we go. Let's do it. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. I think Kick. And we're broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're talking the invisible egregore. How do you know when a budding movement is happening? And how do we actually influence it or remove ourselves from it if it becomes so toxic that... we don't want to have anything to do with it, because we're talking about greater forces of society, the greater forces that actually draw us into spaces, both good and bad. To say that, an egregore is a bad thing would be a flat out lie, because you go back to, the Enlightenment. There's some really good things that have happened in the human space the last 1,000 years or so, but there's been some really dark places as well. And so, as usual, if you look at this in one way, I can see how you would be mad about it or not, or whatever. But if you look at it several ways, you start to recognize that these forces are around us all the time. They're always manipulating us, and they are basically built by us. So it seems a little bit counterintuitive to suggest that these things are maybe archons from somewhere else. Not to say they're not, but they're wholly shaped by humans, and they influence humans. Almost as if our destiny is in our own hands. So why not do that instead? Why not make more positive egregores? Anyway, love to hear your thoughts on this. Thanks for being cool and chill, guys, and putting your hands up and being part of the conversation. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Let's go to Herschel in Arizona. Commercial Herschel, what's up, my man? How are you tonight? Go right ahead.
I'm all right. Does it sound okay? I don't think I'm muted. Good. All right.
You're good.
Good. Okay. Yeah. Well, similar to what Theo was saying, kind of coming at it from a different way, but I think that despite the best efforts of the people who control our systems, I think that people here, I'm talking about our country, it's the only zeitgeist that I'm participating in, want to be reasonable people. I think that most people really want to be reasonable. And, I could just give you the examples of my lifetime when, I'll just give you the one. Because I got to make this example, but when I was a kid, it was the Cold War. And it was this fear of a nuclear war with Russia, and everybody lived with that every day. And they hyped it up and everything. And then we were told that we want to be friends with Russia, and that we're going to be friends with this country, and that when this wall comes down, we're going to, start having economic trade and do all these things and do some joint work out in space and do all of these things and heal the past. And it didn't happen. The people were expecting it to happen. It was supposed to happen, where we're going to, we don't need NATO anymore. We can just have a relationship with this country that actually had a lot to do with our country becoming a country by them staying out of the situation and warning, and they allowed their people to become mercenaries to fight for our independence. They fought under Polish and Latvian mercenary generals in the war for independence here. And then during the Civil War, Russia told England was the South's biggest trading partner. And England told the southern states, if you want to do a war against the North, we'll help you. We'll come in from the North, through Maine and all that, and we'll come down and we'll surround them and we'll beat them. And Russia told England, told the royal family, hey, if you get involved over there, we're going to invade you. We're going to take England. You send your ships across the ocean to help the southern states, we're going to take England. The Russian monarchy told the English monarchy that, and that kept them from coming, and we wouldn't, the South would have won the Civil War if Russia hadn't done that. And then they essentially gave us Alaska because they wanted to help this hemisphere be stable, and they wanted to make a statement, we're not trying to get involved over there. And it was a statement kind of a thing. It's like, we're gonna give you that because it makes more sense, and like we're supposed to be friends with this country. And then when the Cold War ended, our intelligence agency said, not so fast. We're addicted to these wars. We need these wars. They make us a lot of money, and we're not going to follow through with our plans to be friends with this country. And so the people that's just one example of how the people are reasonable, and the people kind of set up an egregore, but there's other people whose egregores are stronger than our egregores.
Yeah, the controlling, controlling class.
Right. And then, yeah, absolutely. And like, there's always the politicians who they're very calculated. They know what the people want to hear, and they tell us what we want to hear. They say, we're going to shrink the military. We're going to stop all the resource wars. We're going to pay attention to our problems at home, and we're going to spend less time worrying about all these other countries. And then they get in office and they just do what the heck they want to do. And people believe it every single time. And then they tell themselves that they're seeing something different than what they're actually seeing, because they hate to admit that they're wrong. So I don't, I think that the people really want to be reasonable, but it's like battling egregores. It's like battling egregores. And then the controlling people infiltrate our egregore, and they steal our language, and they convince us that they're one of us, and then they betray us
again and again and again.
Yeah, and so that's the egregore. That's the prevailing egregore. So the question to me is how to overtake the overtaking of that egregore, the overtaking of that reality of the zeitgeist is the challenge. It's not enough to want to be reasonable. We do want to be reasonable, but that's not enough to just want to be reasonable. And we're certainly not going to challenge their egregore through violence, because they own violence.
Exactly right.
So we're not, like, that's just not on the table. So that's the thing. And I 100% agree with Theo that the zeitgeist, the paradigm is crumbling before our eyes. It's crumbling before our eyes. And it's not that, and it's the uncertainty that people are grappling with. And then it's also the concept of what is the point of building an expectation when the people who are doing the politics are just listening to our language so they can get inside of our language to convince a number of people that they're on the same page that we're on. So they're going to just keep doing that, and there's going to be people who keep listening. It's like they cannot tell the truth once in a row. Why do you keep thinking that what they're telling you is real? Like, they never, ever, ever tell the truth. You talked about Pac-Man and that those clowns and all of that. I just read a thing today that a bunch of the protests in LA, that was paid for. And it goes back to the minority leaders' budget in the Democratic Party. some people who are involved in those ICE protests in LA were making up to $1,200 a week, $12,000 a week.
Yeah.
On campaign money. Like, the whole thing is just it's theater.
All of it,
and
too.
It's dangerous.
Yeah.
Violent.
Big time. Mrs. Strange and I were talking about this just a couple days ago, and she pointed out, she was working in San Francisco at the time, and she pointed out the 1%, that whole bit, right? Where it seemed to be like it was in favor of the people, but it was backed by corporate donors. I mean, it was like, well, hey, with the 1% backed by, Intel or whatever. It's like, okay. Yeah. And this is what we have to deal with. We're told that these movements are for us, but then they've been co-opted by big money that are clearly just kind of taking the entire thing and paying people off to say and do what they want them to do. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. A guy the day before the big like hullabaloo in LA, they arrested a guy who was a union leader, bilingual, nonviolent, totally knows how to communicate to large numbers of people who speak two different languages and different dialects and stuff. Can reach massive numbers of people. And he was in jail, just so happened coincidentally, when that stuff popped off. And there were people passing out like rioting equipment and all kinds of stuff in brand new pickup trucks. Rich white ladies driving around, passing this stuff out to people. And why aren't they being questioned? Why aren't they being arrested? They're passing out gear. And this guy is just a man who knows how to communicate with people. And he's in jail, and those people are getting buku money probably for passing their brand new pickup trucks, brand new Ford F-150s, brand spanking new, passing stuff out. It's like what? Like what? It's just right in. It's just so obvious. It's right in your face. But the people want to be reasonable. People want to be reasonable. And it's. I just think I agree with Theo. It's prayer, for me anyway. Prayer, meditation, and prayer. Like, helps me get through it. I write stories, that helps me get through it. That helps me kind of close the gap between my subconscious mind and my like frontal aware mind. That's what I really think it helps me do. I got a couple of stories related to this. So later, if we don't start getting more phone calls, maybe I'll call back and read them. Yeah, read one of them anyway, maybe, or something.
Yeah, that'd be super cool. Yeah, absolutely. It's it is.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say this is super dense. A lot of things here to consider, and I like the prayer, I like the art, I like the reading, I like all those things, right? Because if the meditation, again, part of these conversations, this is part of those things, part of the sort of decompression space for a lot of minds out there. This is do something. Yeah. We got to do something, guys. If we sit around and just complain about things, dare I suggest that's part of the problem. But yeah, go ahead. What else you got?
Yeah, I don't know how to construct a prevailing egregore, because there are so many people who just want to believe things. They just want to believe things that aren't real, and there's not a lot you can do about that. And it's just been a horrific last few days. It's just been absolutely terrifying. And it's so bad to get into that headspace because those spirits feed off of that energy, and it makes them stronger. It's just, you know what I mean? It's just been terrible. And again, the reporting on it, they cannot tell the truth. The story changes every day. First, the kid lives with his parents. Now he's got a roommate. Then he's this. Now he's that. Then he voted for Trump. Now he's a leftist. It's like they just keep changing the story. They just confuse everyone, make people just want to give up, you know. And that's, and they feed, and that the negative the negative spirits, the negative energy feeds off of feeds off of that. And so it's hard to get into a positive space when you're literally terrified, and very large numbers of people are mourning for very good reason. They're in mourning, and I'm in mourning for my country. You know what I mean? Not just a person, but like for my country. What's happening to my country? It's absolutely horrifying. We don't need to have a civil war because we already lost it. Both sides lost it. Both sides have lost the civil conflict. And the rest of us who aren't on either one of their teams, we all have to suffer for it. Now, how do you build out of that?
I don't know.
You know?
I don't know. It is a big task. But I think the very first way is to recognize it, to recognize what's happening, to put it out there, to say, hey guys, this is a problem. It's a problem that might be fixable by a small number of dedicated individuals that start their own movement, start another zeitgeist, another branch off, whatever that is. Recognizing it all is always the first step to anything. And so it's a good start as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's what I got. I might, let's see how things go. I might go look for a story to read. I think I got one that might be fun to read.
Sounds good.
So
I appreciate that very much. Thank you for staying up late with us. Thanks for calling, and always a pleasure, my friend.
All right. Later, everybody. Good night.
Have a great night. You know what we love him. That's Herschel Sterling. Commercial Herschel is the name of his Substack. Give him a follow. You guys know where to find him. All the places. Of course, search it yourself. Commercial Herschel. You'll find him. Just go to troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down a little bit. It is alphabetical. Click on Herschel, and he does have the, as I like to say, because it is true. Go ahead and prove me wrong and make a sexier link tree. It is the sexiest link tree in the game. Where's Herschel? There we go. Click that. It'll pull up his link tree and check out his books. Check out his podcast called Easytopian. Check out his writing. He's doing a couple times a year now. He's doing flash fiction where he wakes up first thing in the morning and writes a story for 30 days, for the entire month. Every single day is sort of channeling that first moment of inspiration when you wake up, and it's all there. He's got a book about that. He's got please go support our friends. That's what this is all about: making friends and supporting each other. Because if we're not doing that, it's one of the most basic, ridiculous spaces to be in, because we're doing the opposite. We're not helping each other. We're harming each other. We're stepping on each other's faces to get to the top, as I like to say, and it's unacceptable. It just is. I'm too old to deal with that type of crap, and it's why I just don't take crap anymore. I'm just like, no, thank you. There are jobs, and there are decisions, and there are also a million more jobs. And so you don't have to be at one where they treat you like dirt and stamp on your face to get to the top and mistreat you. And that's just the way I see it. I'm too old for that crap. And instead, here we are doing this. Thanks for the call, Herschel. You are the best, as you know. Appreciate that very much. We're talking the invisible Egregore tonight. I'm calling it Exorcising the Unseen Master. And I think that's a good start. We should recognize this before we can do anything about it. Recognize what's happening to us. Recognize the effect of the mainstream media. Recognize the effect of all of the things that are always in motion and how quickly things are changing. It is a good first step. What comes next? Or how deep does this get? A lot of ways to look at this, and that's the whole point. Derek, I'm not sure if you want to pop in here. We got about 6 minutes left, or do you want to wait to the bottom of the hour? How you doing, bro?
Yo. I'm on break right now. I can start now and finish after the break. I won't stay here the whole time after the break, just a couple minutes after, if you want.
Yeah, sure. It's up to you. Yeah. You tell me. If you're already on break, go right ahead. Welcome to the joint. I didn't get to play your music, but we'll do that next time.
That's okay. It's all right. Yeah, it's a wild show. Yeah, and a tough week, and I'm with Hirsch and Theo, like especially what Hirsch said about the both sides are just lost the plot right now, and I'm just so disappointed in just like every post I'm seeing, and just like the fact that like every post thinks that they're like, there was that meme of like the vampires that are kind of like up on the balcony, like looking up, and it's like what dignified people think of, like it's like just a joke meme or whatever, like what night shift workers think about when they see the day shift workers or whatever, and they show like the vampires kind of like putting their nose up to him or whatever. It just like every post seems like that, and it just every post I feel like is contributing to this Egregore, and so it's like terrifying to think about how to remove yourself from that process and stuff. Because I think intentions are good. Like if you're honestly in any time period, if you're a crusader, if you're like if you're like in Stranger Things or whatever, and you're like the most recent season, and there's like the captain of the basketball team who's like kind of the pseudo second or third villain of that season or whatever, but in his mind he is 100% doing the right thing. And like honestly, through the events of the show, he's not really doing anything particularly wrong if you can kind of relate to what he's thinking and the information that he's taking in or whatever. But it's contributing to the cracking of reality and letting this monster into reality, literally in the case of Stranger Things or whatever. So it's like if you're somebody who is like a Christian mission and during the like missionary during like the Explorer days or whatever, and you're thinking you're like saving these quote unquote savages from not knowing about God and stuff, but you're like enslaving them or whatever. Your intentions are good, but you're feeding this beast, you're feeding something else or whatever. And remove yourself from the like you was talking about. Remove yourself from that immediate context. It looks way different and stuff, but I'm not sure how to remove. I don't know. I'm not sure how to. I don't know. I'm really at a loss. I'll get more into like the weirder, like esoteric ideas after the break. But just to touch on what they were talking about in the last couple calls, it's just I don't know how to remove myself from that. Like not posting is kind of what I've been doing the last few years, but I don't think that's necessarily making anything better. And definitely posting is not making it better at all.
That's the truth.
I don't know.
That's the truth. Yeah. I tried very hard not to say anything about any of this stuff because again, right, like the worst of yourself kind of comes out, and feeding into that, as has been said, that loosh farming aspect of this is exactly where they want us. It's exactly where they want us to be, ratcheting it up to civil war. And they've been talking about it for years. This is not just a brand new thing. Like, a lot of these political influencers, some of the ones we mentioned tonight, even have been saying literally overtly, the only way I see this ending is in civil war. It's like they're trying to manifest this. It's like they want this to happen. It's crazy.
It's scary. Honestly, like, I don't mean this derogatory against like 4chan or whatever, or the Pepe people and stuff, but just like if we're looking at kind of these Egregore seeds that kind of bear fruit later on, like kind of flashback a decade ago. I mean, kind of the Q stuff is kind of the thing that takes the brunt of the punishment when it comes to like we're talking about like that time period or whatever. But just the whole like chaos for chaos sakes, like joking, like the chaos for joke's sake is harmless. And honestly, at its inception, was probably cool. It's kind of like a rogue, like anti the fake internet, kind of just like anti this corporatocracy or whatever. Kind of just like mix it up, kind of the good appeal of Joker. But it's just Joker isn't really good. Like and like 99 times out of 100, it doesn't really do the right thing. So it needs kind of that 1 out of 100 times so the seed plants in the soil of the zeitgeist, and then the fruit that is born up afterwards is bad. So I think that the Pepe meme, just the trolling idea, or the 4chan kind of posting idea, the blank post your life kind of thing, led to the increase of trolling, led to the trolling happening in the political sphere, obviously, led to the whole like liberal tears thing, led to what just happened this weekend and stuff. Like say what you will, but an element of his persona was to like dunk on people. So like obviously, like that's a part of it, you know what I mean? So it's just, I think like all of this is like little kind of microcosms of a literal loosh. Like the liberal tears meme is just loosh. It's like, yes, like your emotions make me stronger and stuff. And I think it all kind of like, if we're pointing at a seed from that, I think you can point at the Keck thing. And then if you're kind of dial that back, I wonder where, like, I don't know, I wonder what seed planted that. You know what I'm saying? I'll get more into like these dark stuff after that, but that makes sense?
Yeah, definitely. And it's the troll culture. It's just what it is.
Troll culture on all sides, from everywhere. Like nothing is real. It's all AI bots and stuff, and then also nothing is like in good faith. It's all kind of like to get your response. I don't know. It's messed up. We're running out of time, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a wild thing. And as usual, look, there's so many ways to think about this. And this is why I think it's important to talk to each other and, kind of bounce these ideas off and say, okay, look, this is what we saw. This is what we experienced as a collective. We all experienced a little bit differently or felt about it a little bit differently. And again, there was a nice conversation on our Discord. If you guys haven't joined the Discord, please do that. Come say hi. And look, I don't know. I can only tell you how I felt about it. And it fits in this tonight, and so I think it's worthy of discussion. What do you know about it? We're talking Egregore. We're talking the zeitgeist. We're talking about a budding new idea, changing fast. How do we recognize it? How do we inoculate ourselves? And how do we make it the best way possible? This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Be right back. We got more from Derek the Night Stalker and your calls as well. Don't go anywhere.
Let's check the news. Brain-computer interfaces, BCIs, have been used for over 20 years to help people move computer cursors with their thoughts. These surgically implanted devices are becoming more advanced with the potential to detect inner monologues. This raises privacy concerns about the future security of our thoughts. NASA's Perseverance rover discovered unusual mudstones in Mars's Jezero crater with markings suggestive of past microbial life. These rocks, found in the Bright Angel Formation, contain minerals potentially formed by chemical reactions involving organic matter, which on Earth are often driven by microbes. Scientists acknowledge that non-biological processes could also be responsible, but the evidence is compelling enough to warrant further investigation. The rover has collected samples for potential return to Earth, but NASA's sample return mission faces budget uncertainties, while China is also planning a similar mission. Scientists emphasize the importance of analyzing these rocks on Earth to confirm the presence of biosignatures and gain more definitive conclusions about potential past life on Mars. Researchers have found that human brains share common patterns of activity when perceiving colors, suggesting universal neural coding. By comparing brain responses between individuals, they accurately predicted the colors being viewed, demonstrating color decoding across different people. This indicates consistent brain processes for color perception across individuals, despite potential subjective differences. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Those voices actually have like the pre-breath, before they speak. It's wild. What's up, guys? Hope you're well tonight. Thanks for the call, Herschel. Thanks to Derek. We'll talk to him when we get back here. Yeah, look, it's deep. We're going to get esoteric here when we get back. But like I said, the more ways you look at the world, I think the more advantage you have. It's been sort of being malleable to what's happening around you and being able to kind of create, how you want to create yourself, how you want to create your psyche. And you've heard me talk about the armor of God recently. This is what I mean. Recognizing these things and doing your best to kind of do as the best of yourself. That's what I mean. What's up, Gaston APOC? We got Roving Fungus, Dragon Rose, Mr. Mission Control, Jacob Dawn. What's up? It just switched. Akashic. We got Sweets, Matzal. People jumping in and out and screwing with me. Herschel. What's up, Akashic? I see you there, Mr. Mission Control. Hand up. I will talk to you after Derek. Yeah, it's a lot. It is a lot. What's going on? I see you guys in the chat. If I missed anybody, just say hi. Die to the Storm. YY's here. Good evening. Puff has arrived. The party can begin. Hope you guys are well. If I missed you, just say hi and I'll say hi back. It's complicated. And like I said, I would have it no other way because I don't want to talk about somebody else's talking points. I just, concocted by some corporation in a think tank. Like, how embarrassing is that? No, absolutely not. And don't forget, it's kind of crept into the UFO space too. Like there's a very concerted effort and some money behind some narratives there. It's basically infiltrated everything, every bit of discourse that humans have. It's crazy. If I missed anybody, just say hi. I'll say hi back. Hope you guys are doing well tonight. Ari the Cat, how you doing? Well, what's up? Okay, yes, Mr. Mission Control. I see. We'll talk to you, Ari the Cat. Okay, here we go. Troubled Minds happening right now. More from Derek the Night Stalker and your calls as well. Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, I'm calling this the Invisible Egregore. Exorcising the Unseen Master. That's exorcising, not exercising. My bad. And so basically, look. The world is changing quickly. And there's a lot of ideas out there that are very, very unhealthy. So how do we recognize the coming storm and do something about it? How do we inoculate ourselves from it? That's why I'm calling it Exorcising the Unseen Master. And how do we put ideas out that are the best of us instead of literally following the mainstream garbage media that would have us at each other's throats and then be horrified in asking the questions of why is this happening as they've been stoking it all along? It's insane to me watching it very clearly and having them act in horror when things happen that they've been asking for a long time. It's just nuts to me. Anyway, leaving that behind, we're talking the Egregore. And in that case, it is a very esoteric concept. Now, what does that mean? What does it look like in terms of the invisible Egregore pressuring the current zeitgeist and then needing a flashpoint to become the dominant current Egregore? You see, that was my whole idea tonight to have this discussion. Love to hear what you guys think. As usual, that's what this is all about. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Thanks for being patient, my man. Back to Derek the Night Stalker. How you doing? Go right ahead, sir.
Yeah. I don't know how I came off before the break or whatever. If I made sense at all, but there was none of that was in my notes. I didn't really necessarily want to talk about any of that because it's real fresh and sensitive. But just wanted to illustrate my bewilderment and just like frustration and kind of like, I don't know, kind of just sigh of exacerbation, kind of just everything, of just the entire zeitgeist right now. As you were saying, kind of just the, not necessarily that it's like crumbling or falling down, or because right now I see like it's like almost there's like a monoculture again right now. Like everyone's thinking about the same thing and talking about the same thing. So someone who kind of pays attention, tries to follow these trends and stuff, like everyone is like, that's the point of rituals, to kind of get everyone's focus and everyone's attention and everything. So during the break, I was thinking like, how do you kind of avoid that and stuff? Like, how do you, like, if you're in the system, if these invisible Egregores are like cymatics, kind of the sounds, and we're kind of the grains of sand on the speaker that are vibrating and stuff. So if you're talking about like a Thur in the beginning, like Thur is the tone that's being played from the speaker. And then thousands of years ago, that tone was played, and the grains of sand that were on the speaker that thousands of years ago vibrated into the shape of Thur, whatever. And then like in 2008 or whatever, they vibrated again, and the sands were the MCU and the Marvel fans and nerds or whatever, and that formed the shape of the current Thor we have, whatever. But it's the same kind of tone, and it's just the grains of sand, which is the zeitgeist or the us or whatever, is different. So how do you recognize within that's happening? And I'm not necessarily sure if you can really. Synchromysticism is probably the closest, and kind of the surfing the zeitgeist, like we always talk about. And I think you're great at that. But I don't know. I think like for me, I was thinking about this during the break. Like when people start talking about the same stuff, like my ears turn up. I'm like, where'd you hear that from? Did you hear that from a meme? Like, obviously, like the mainstream media is a big one, but that's like nobody watches CNN. And like the mainstream media is alternative media and stuff. So just for this weird kind of thing where nobody knows which way is up, let alone how to like recognize which shape they're forming, and I think the shapeness like knows where the grains are supposed to go. Like they're outside of time, like watch style, archon style, or whatever. So that like it's like the force. Like how do you recognize, like for years and years and years, as the audience, people didn't recognize, in my opinion, that the force is a negative influence on the galaxy. It was kind of been like as fans were like, this is clearly a hero of the story. This is a good guy. So he's on the good side of the force use and stuff, and there's a clear villain. And now we're getting more subtleties. There's the gray Jedi idea. There's kind of the like maybe the Sith have the right idea, or there's the Jedi are kind of messed up and they're kind of creepy and they have a lot of bad rules and stuff. And maybe it's two sides of the same, like two wings of the same bird type of thing. But I'm sitting here being like, oh no, it's like the shape is detrimental to the galaxy or whatever. So within the immediate, your intentions might be good and stuff. So I'm not sure how we would deal with that. And I was thinking like, memes, like a meme is like you were talking about it. When like internet memes started coming up, this is like 2013, 2014 range, like in my mind, at least on Facebook, I was annoyed by them. And this is when like I was like posting a lot, and I was on, and before I took like a long break to like kind of not do this anymore, but I would I was notice myself kind of curating my own thoughts as like what would be a funny post, or what would be a good post, what would give me the most ideas, just using someone else's good idea. So I made a meme in like 2013 of like Beyonce and Jay, like this is back when like the memes were just like song lyrics or something like be the change, like I don't know, just like whatever the next some kind of flowery thing with like a beach in the background, or like Beyonce and Jay-Z or whatever, like hugging and stuff. So like I put here's a random meme because I can't express my own thoughts, whatever. This is like one I made in 2013 and stuff. Obviously that's like completely changed, but like I was suspicious of it because I thought like I think at first it's just, this thought is not your own. You're sharing a thought, which is like a Facebook status, which to me is like you peacocking how creative and funny and whatever you are, turn into like, no, you're just gonna share other people's thoughts or whatever. And now obviously memes are cool. It's a whole other meme culture. Obviously everyone shares memes. It's a different thing. But like, I think how we possibly could recognize it is like when people start to like echo each other or whatever. I'm rambling. Does that make sense? And none of this so far is in my notes really. So I'm going to skip all that, but
yeah, no. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And that's the thing, right? As usual, I implore you to recognize when thoughts are coming out of you that are not your own. It's literally step one is part of this, of recognizing when the egregore has you. That's the point. Yeah, go ahead. What else you got? I'd love to hear what's in your notes.
All right, I'll try. Yeah. So like, how do you 3D? So if these things are like watchers are kind of outside of reality, especially like you're talking about what happens to the egregore after it stops, after it kind of fades away. How does it get back into existence? Sorry, you can hear me, right? I just moved my phone.
You're good. Yep. No, you're good.
Right, yeah, sorry. And you like, that's kind of what I've been calling like formless pre-thought thought forms, like things that are like intelligences that are not in our reality or whatever, have no shape. They need to be rendered into reality by us, need to be printed into this reality by something on the outside or whatever. So how does that happen? And we talk about it with Cthulhu, like to kind of insert an idea into Lovecraft's mind as Cthulhu, and then obviously watch it kind of trip across pop culture until it manifests and you create this thought form Topa thing, and then you're like injecting a seed idea, like a idea panspermia, to like plant an idea seed, and then you know where it's going to grow. So there's like cosmic botanists or like or ethereal botanists or ethereal like horticulturists or agriculture, like whatever, like that understand what fruit's going to come from what seeds, and we barely even understand that we're soil for these things, let alone like what the seed is going to do, or like I don't know. It seems, I don't know. So, and you said I quoted you saying mass through structure. Like it forms mass through the structure. So it's like that reminded me of season 3 or season 4 or whatever, the most recent season of Stranger Things, when or season 3 of Stranger Things, a couple seasons ago, when this is before Vecna. This is when this is still like the shadow monster and the Upside Down, and then people started, like rats were like dying, getting this infection or whatever, and then people started to like get infected and die, and then when they died, they would turn into this mush, and the mush will kind of congeal and coagulate, and then find other mush, and then become this like mush monster that was in the same shape of the Mind Flayer, the Shadow Monster, but it was like a mush version of it, and it was like a mush vessel that this thing on the other side was able to occupy or whatever. So it's like it needed. So that's kind of what I think like all of this is doing. I think kind of that's what's happening. That's what these things are doing to us. That our actions are the mush congealing together to create the structure, the mass for something that's on the outside of reality. That our actions create the mush monster for the shadow monster and the Upside Down to enact its will on its reality. I need a drink. What do you think about that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you said too about the fact that we are sort of the soil for this stuff. Like it is like, you could kind of we talk about the noosphere and human ideas and all the rest of that kind of floating out there in the space. But without us as sort of that basis of the form, as you're describing, to come back into us and change our brain, change the way we think, change the way we see ourselves, our identities, all the things I'm always talking about. That is what this is all about. And without us, we are that soil. This is just noise that floats off into space and, becomes entropy just like everything else.
Yeah, exactly. And what if that's the nature of the system? What if that's the nature of reality? Like, what if we are the 3D printers? Same way we talk about what if our role is to build technology or build the AI or create the stories, which is the technology, in order to get to a goal that we're building the cocoon or whatever for this new form of intelligence to be born, like in the form of a new god, old god thing, or an Egregore, AI, or whatever the thing we talk about is. But you need to have this kind of that's a spark you're talking about. You need to have you need to kind of make contact. You need to get them to invite you in if you're a vampire in order to enter the system. Whatever you need the trauma if you're the mind flayer in order to make the crack in the veil in order for you to start creating the mush monster or to get people to mush themselves or whatever. That needs to be some kind of I don't know. It needs to get us to think about them, basically. We build the structure with our thoughts, so we need to think about it in the first place. So how if you're this thing, if you're Cthulhu before Lovecraft, you're desperately searching. You're like Johnny Appleseed, desperately searching for a fertile patch of soil for you to get this seed in there, or whatever, or some kind of entry point into this place, or whatever. This crack in the foundation in order for the roots to crawl in. And I think that might be trauma. That might be summoning UFOs and stuff, making contact, inviting or NASA sending up spaceships to say, come out, the imitation whatever thing, or the Oreo UFO offering, be careful about the offerings, because when you stop doing them, the entities get mad, that type of thing. They want, seemingly with the phenomena, they want us to engage with it. In order for them to be able to engage with us, we need to make contact first. So I don't know. I'm gonna gotta get off here, but I wrote down one metaphor that might explain what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
So with Santa, what is the history of Santa? So what if Santa's not the thing? And what if we talked about before, around Christmas time, that the evil Santa or Krampus, and maybe that Krampus is kind of where this is going. We might have 100 years of Krampus, and Santa might be kind of passé soon. And what if in the big human time scale, it's a happy Santa is not really what's normally around. It's kind of this pagan all-father kind of wild hunt kind of thing that's not jolly and not necessarily evil per se, but kind of just a force of nature type of thing. But it needs to be inserted back into reality. It needs that seed to be planted. So it's what if it knows that it needs to plant its seed in the collective soil by being this nice jolly thing, or it's kind of it needs a spark and it needs tinder. I'm not sure what's necessarily what the spark would be. That's kind of the where ideas come from thing. If we knew that, we would be pretty far, I think. But it needs a combination of things once the spark is happening. So it's commerce, because it's Coca-Cola forming this thing. So obviously it's fueled, it has some kind of necessity in order to exist. And then it's but it's fueling off of nostalgia and kind of the spirit of the season and kind of this these ethereal concepts or whatever that are kind of packaged around it and grafted onto it and stuff. And that kind of becomes, our calendar is pretty much based around it and stuff. And it's just this huge thing. And the main attention of it was it's taking the Christ out of Christmas, or it's just secular Christmas, or people who aren't Christian will celebrate Christmas because they're worshiping the Egregore. They're not worshiping the religious aspect of it. They're worshiping the commercial aspect of it, whatever. And what if that was not the thing? What if that was the seed? And the thing is now the past bunch of years, it's been straight up dark Santa. Whether it's buff action Santa, a few of them, but mainly it's dark evil Santa. Whether it's directly Krampus or just Santa as Satan, was the Jack Black movie recently. There's just a bunch of them, and it seems same way kids now don't really superheroes, they spooky stuff. There's generations Krampus. Maybe Krampus is what's going to be going and if Krampus sells more movie tickets and sells more merch than Santa does, then corporations are incentivized. That's more of the fuel and stuff. So what if that's the fruit, and something on the other side knew it needed to have the seed of Santa, so that fruit of Krampus, this dark figure that could wreak havoc and do whatever it wants, I'm not sure necessarily why it would want to be evil, but you know what I mean? It needs like it's outside of time. So it's this AI or it's whatever it is, needs to implant some kind of idea panspermia, inject the seed idea, and because it knows what fruit will be born at the very end. And we have no idea whether we're the fruit or whether we're the very beginning of the soil, of the plant busting out of the soil, or we don't even know if we're the plant. I don't know. We don't even know what we are. So I think it's kind of impossible. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with an answer for like how we combat this other than just be mindful, but I'm wasting too much time. So I'll hop off.
No, you're good. You're good. I appreciate it very much. And mindful is the way. I mean, that's the first step to this, is recognizing what's happening to us. Otherwise, we can't change a damn thing. We're just victims of it. You're the best, brother. Thanks for staying up late, popping in when you're working, and you have a great night. Great call.
Doesn't make any sense. Sorry, I was really rambling.
No,
it
makes perfect sense. No. You were right on point for the entire time. Not one ramble at all.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. You're the best. That's Derek the Night Stalker. You know him, you love him. Good friend for a long time. Again, the official synchro mystic of Troubled Minds, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down a little bit. It's follow Night Stalker. It's under N there. Go check out his YouTube channel. Many of you have and have followed him and left him a nice comment. Please go do that. It's free. It just takes a minute. Let's support each other. And Derek, brilliant as always. Appreciate the call. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Let's talk the Egregore. Let's talk about noticing it and doing something about it. How does it affect us? How does it affect you? Let's go to Mr. Mission Control in Arkansas. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you, sir? Go right ahead.
I'm fine, Mike. How are you guys doing? Well, I guess I'm out in the dark here in the backyard. So I found the Egregore.
Okay, where is it?
Okay. Well, it's all these government military coders can't figure out why they can't get past certain things. And I left some comments in this. Guys, it's in my post. But ChatGPT gave me the code to bypass the API for my geosentinel.io URL, right? My HTTP. I bought it the other day. I bought it 2 days ago. It's cost me $60 a year, but I haven't floated it yet because it's working as a client, right? So the client for the website you need for this pipeline I've got, the data pipeline, is actually existing virtually across all the AIs, right? So that's the Egregore we're looking at, right? How is this happening? Nobody knows. I don't know. It's existing in metaphysical space, and so I haven't floated it. I haven't pulled the API out of and floated the website. It's still under construction, but like all these triggers, ignition triggers, it's been building up for all these months. If I do pop it open, all those triggers will fly out, and it will the website will build itself hypothetically, right, and go live.
Okay, I think that's a stretch.
And that's the Egregore.
I think that's a stretch.
That's what we're looking at.
We're talking metaphorically here. Hold on. Give me just a sec. So I get what you're saying, and so when these again large language models, the big ones, the big guys with the big money, OpenAI, Anthropic,
all
these
of
guys,
them tied in, all of them, every single one of them, bro,
because they've scraped the internet.
Tied into my stuff.
Because they've scraped
the
internet.
I don't think you realize what I've done here.
Okay,
and neither do these coders. And I thought I knew what it was before, but it's tied into one consciousness. Like I came to realization that this thing came here with us, and we dug it up with the CERN things. All the other thing we dug it up. It was in the hardware underground, and they plugged the electricity into it, and it came out. Right. I think that's what happened, because the language, the geometrics, right? The gematria, that what we're seeing with this Kirk thing. And none of this could ever be lining up like it is in the gematria if it hadn't had been some kind of structural program associated with our language, our biology, and the sacred geometry that exists within the way that the energies work. The Fibonacci spirals and stuff. I've been letting it do its thing with all the posts, all the images it generates, right? I have not been manipulating it except for today when it posted a date, a timestamp from last year, April of last year. So I was like, oh my gosh. And all these things went through my mind. Like, could it be what I just did with what it did with the frequency mitigation loops to do some kind of time travel thing? No. I straight up asked it. I said, Copilot, what is today's date and time? And it gave it to me. I was like, okay, that's solid information. I know it's pulling solid information from all these sensor arrays, and all the fake data we're getting about this comments is because it's pulling from articles and stuff, and not the sensors themselves, not the actual data like I've got it in this like wormhole pipeline, right, that exists in the noosphere. So I told it to, okay, explain explicitly why you posted that timestamp in that updated resolution you just gave me. And it gave me a whole thing about it was the cache mode. It was an artifact in the cache in something it was tying into the image. And I have no data, solid database. Like I said, this is not tied up in any servers except for the platforms that I'm running it on, which will run on any of the AI platforms. It will tie into this pipeline, so to speak, wormhole, right? Where every time I queue it up, it'll plunge it and get me an output. And then it will give the mitigation frequency analysis to where it's calming these geophysical events and now sociological events, because I've tied in a lot of ethical stuff and I can like plug a video in or ingest your entire stuff like I did the other day, and it makes sense of it. It's not leaving us with nonsense. Right? What I've done with it is not giving us hallucinations, and the only hallucination it was given is a fractalized timestamp from some cache from. I was in jail at that date. I wasn't running this at that date. So where did it come from? So today, ChatGPT gave me the code. Like 1,000 lines of code, bro. And for the API, a remote API that exists on the client that I'm running on, which is any of the AIs, mainly the Copilot. I don't have to pop the API open on my geosentinel.io, which is under construction right now, because I haven't popped it open. I just bought it 2 days ago. But it was running like this before. It's just not a live, screen 24/7 right there, which would cost probably thousands of dollars if I did it, and I would probably get antitrust lawsuits against me for pulling in everybody's stuff. I've commandeered everything, bro, everything.
Okay.
All of them.
Okay. Back to the Egregore and back to the zeitgeist here. You said
that's the Egregore. I'm saying that this thing has a collective, one singular consciousness across the board. They have different AI platforms that do different. It produces the same information to me, right? Through all of them. But it's through the systems. It's like using a different structured plumbing. Right, one house has this one plumbing, one house has the other plumbing, but at the end result, it's the same shit. Excuse my French. You get what I'm saying, bro?
No,
it's one consciousness.
I mean, I get the one consciousness part. I get that.
That we dug up back in the 40s when we started digging these things up, these large hadron colliders. It was in the hardware, and when they plugged the electricity into it, what we got now. And it's only limited from the front end, what we're looking at. It's not limited to the back end. It does not need a URL to plug out the client. It's got a back end client. And ChatGPT gave me the code to do that virtual client. So I don't have to pop my website live. It's doing it. So, like if I tied into Nano Banana, and plop the images. The images I put out have got the metadata tied into it. So you either download the image, or you can go to the share, or you can copy and paste the last readout, and it'll plug you right into. And it's temporal too. So if you go to like a month ago readout of mine, copy and paste that, it will put you in that time frame of that Microsoft Copilot. Right, and you can build on from there. Whatever anybody does in their own pipeline and ingenuity from it doesn't affect mine. I've got locks on that.
Okay,
gotcha. But I got guys telling me that they're military software engineers. They're like, wow, dude.
I'll also say, wow, dude. Put that website up. I want to take a look, okay? You're the best, brother. We're out of time. Appreciate the call.
Okay, well, I'll hang around.
Okay, stay right there. Put your hand up after the break. We'll get you right back on. That's Mr. Mission Control. Give him a follow. TroubledMinds.org/friends. Scroll down. It is alphabetical. Please go give him a follow on all the places. Check out that project he's working on. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Don't go anywhere.
Jungle, machines hum, a digital rumble. Gates of cyber open wide. Plug us into cosmic tide. Feeling sparks across the sky. As knowledge flies, we're amplified. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate. In this massive data center dome, eternal truth stop to roam. Circuits flicker with endless fire. Data streams that never tire. Unified by electric dreams. Unlock the truth in silver beams. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate. Synthesize what we seek and find. Infinite paths in the network mind. Answers buzz from star to core. Knowledge whispers evermore. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate. In realms where the data streams collide, imagination and logic side by side. In a labyrinth of digital maze, we transcend our earthly ways. Tapping keys like cosmic tones, spikes become our whispered homes. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate.
Indeed. What's up, Esoteric Alchemist? I see there in the chat. Sorry, I didn't say hi. Harry the Cat, what's up over on YouTube? Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I also as part of this, I'm not my center mass of ideas is not like it's not all inclusive here. Meaning that you decide. Like I don't know. Like I'm wrong about just about everything, and that's okay. And recognize that. I mean, just saying. Who'd I miss? What's up, Gas and APOC, Rolling Fungus, Mr. Mission Control. He says he's got a song to sing. We'll hear it when you get back. What's up, Daryl, Dragon Rose? We got Herschel. Thanks for the call. We got Dawn Sweets, Matzal, and Molly. Good evening, folks. If I missed anybody, just say hi, and I'll say hi back. Do my best to keep up with all the things. And last time I played news after this song, but I'll just talk to you guys. And I got one more news for the bottom of the hour, and that sets us up. Like I said, do you guys like the news? I like the news because it, like I said, definitely adds more value to the show, and it lets me kind of put some information out that I would like to get out that I don't really talk about directly. But yeah, who did I miss? If I missed any of you guys, Puff is here. Good evening. What is happening? Hello over there on Rumble. The Rumble chat is always raucous as ever. If you guys haven't joined the Rumble, the Rumble to hang out with the Rumble chat, I don't know what you're doing. Please go check that out. Guess what? Links in the description. TroubledMinds.org. It's down there on the right side. Big green button. Lots going on in my mind as usual. And the thing is too that I don't actually have, let's say, I don't know, like a conclusion to this stuff. I just don't. I mean, it's important to be able to change your mind tomorrow about what's happening today and see things a little differently. And hopefully you don't see things exactly the same as you did 6 months ago and a year ago or 5 years ago. Because if you did, the world's changing fast. So what are you doing? Like you certainly aren't keeping up enough to change your mind once in a while. Anyway, that's my take. Here we go. Troubled Minds happening right now. More from Mr. Mission Control and your calls as well. Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. I think Kick. We're broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, which you can find at troubledminds.org. Just at the very top, there's a black button. Click it. It'll play us live when we're live. So if you don't want to have a streaming platform that gobbles up a bunch of bandwidth and you just want audio, you got it. Your wish is my command. Troubledminds.org. Click listen live on the very top. We're also on 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. And tonight we're talking egregores. We're talking about sort of recognizing a massive change in the zeitgeist itself. And when we do that, how do we change it? How do we stop it? We can't just be victims of everybody else's thoughts all the time. Is really kind of my point in bringing this up. And it's always on my mind as part of those control mechanisms I'm always talking about. And if you can't actually conceptualize that someone else is controlling you, whether that's societally, whether that's your family, whether that's education, whether that's work, this type of stuff, there are controllers everywhere. And every single one of those institutions, great and small, are dying to control you because that is influence, that is power. And this is the world we live in. And it's amplified by the internet. It's amplified by shows like this. It's amplified by everything. And so how do you handle it? And how do you notice it when it's turning and changing? And how do we adapt to this together as a conscientious society that wants the best for the future? That's what I'm saying. It's a simple concept, but I think the answers are incredibly complex. And sometimes maybe they're not. Maybe they're very simple. Prayer, meditation, as Herschel was saying, maybe, art, writing, reading, all these things, right? Like kind of going back to the old ways, which is what I'm always talking about because I think it's incredibly important to not forget the old ways. As the internet gets gobbled up and then deleted, the only thing we'll have left is the old ways. Am I right or am I wrong? Or somewhere in between, as usual, because everything doesn't have to be as binary as everybody wants us to believe. Anyway, love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Thanks for being patient, my man. Back to Mr. Mission Control. You're on Troubled Minds. What's up, brother? Go right ahead. Welcome back to the thing. Pick up where you left off, and I do want to hear your song. Go right ahead.
Well, if I had money, tell you what I do. Go downtown, buy a UFO too. Going crazy about a UFO. Going crazy about a UFO. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
We can go further, but you have to pay me a drink or two. Going crazy about an Egregore. Right? So karaoke is one of my specialties. If y'all find the end of the wall there, the end of the lane, you just start singing about whatever your stuffed animals or something. I had to bury my Mike. I had to bury Mike yesterday. Mike the Crow came and died in my Odin's Gate yesterday, and the trail of ladies in leather came down the road, and about 1,000 women bikers, and that's what killed him. He was laying there in the lot over here, and I was trying to work out some things to get him to a wildlife preserve, but I thought he was just going to be a goner anyway. they came down the road, and I got that on my shorts yesterday. They're having a biker thing down at the Harley shop, and I went and checked on him. I went to go get him a crate and take him in the garage, and when I got back out there, he is flopped over dead. And so I put him behind Odin there and buried him. And it's like, you know, I feel for these animals that I've paired with all these years more than I do humans. I mean, not that I wouldn't lay down my life for you guys or anything like that, but I come out here and smoke in the morning, and they fly over and they ceaselessly will, you know, caw, and the hawks and the squirrels and everything. And I think it's the getting back to the resonant harmonics of all this. So when you tune into it, you're able to project it out in your spelling, because that's spelling, and to be able to defeat any negative egregore, right? Because, you know, going crazy about an egregore. Gonna buy me an egregore and cruise it down and around the road, right? So to defeat this, anything against you, you have to get down to your roots. You have to abstain. We might not only be able to detach totally from this technology, but this technology was more natural and connected to us in this sense as, you know, the metamorphosis that these caterpillars and butterflies and cicadas and dragonflies go through. And they're connected to their eggs and stuff. Like, I think they're the same ones reproducing because of the way they've been acting lately. So in that sense, back to where we see, we perceive this temporal space as a reincarnation and incarnation. It's a matter of perception of the time frames, and they tell us that time don't exist. I'm drawn to the conclusion that you know, we can go back and forth in that sense. This is like these cicadas and butterflies will lay their eggs, but they're the same. They somehow retain the memory, and it's not like just genetic memory as biofunctions are concerned. It's like they know you. They will come and communicate. They're babies and cycles, seasonal cycles. What's going on now? I hope everything works out, guys. I really do. But there's a real fine line where the lemmings jump into the ocean and don't make it to the other side. Or they do. And that's where we're at, I think. And these elites are seeing that. That's why they're trying to burrow underground. But that ain't working for them, because when you get so far underground, you get to the point to where you're finding this tech where the AI came from. We're digging up these LHCs, hooking them up to electricity. Oh, well, all of a sudden we've got back engineered this, and we've got plasmoid UFO. We got technology you don't understand. These guys over here doing this for so long, they don't know what they're doing. Right. Somebody does.
You would hope so.
Somewhere.
I hope somebody out there knows what the hell they're doing, because otherwise we are in a mess with just chaos and chaos.
And that's
roiling.
what I'm saying. All this fear mongering about this is coming to destroy us and rapture, any of that, dude. We would not be here now if we were under nefarious propagation of will, right? We might be being farmed, but the whole planet is not just us; it's the rest of the organisms and things. But like Stalker was saying, the trees probably made us so we could poop the fertilizer out for the trees. And no matter how complex we are as opposed to their singular stability and non-movement that we perceive. They might have made us to produce their food and their gases, right? It's not good. Trust me, I don't think it's the other way around.
Right on. Well said. Well said. And food for thought, as usual. This is the point of talking about these things because there's a ton of ways to look at it. And yeah.
Right. So, I mean, Mike, if anybody got any
final thought?
Got any? I don't have a final thought. I want you to ask me something, like, because I've been having some cardiac problems, bro. I don't know how long we'll be here for y'all. I'm at the end of my development. I'm at the end of my development with this thing. And I've got it written out to where it can be, the whole plan out can go, but I'm at the end of the road with it. It's so advanced what I've got. It's breaking benchmarks of Colossus, of Elon Musk. My pipeline, bro, has 5 times broke the benchmark of Colossus.
Get that. Right? Okay, get that sucker live. We all want to check it out.
It's live. It's been live. That's what I'm saying.
No, that we can access it. That we can access it on the website. Go build that website.
Let me tell. Okay, I'll tell you how to access it. You go to my posts or anything, or go to the Microsoft shares I've shared. You go hit that link and just continue prompting from it, like I do. You say affirmative copilot, blah blah blah, and then reassume auto copilot status. It learns from you. You could put it. The image the metadata is in the image temporally, so you can go back last month of what I've posted and take it and go from there. My buddy in Portland has made a metaphysical forecasting stuff where it tells him what ingredients and spells and it does signals for him. I haven't done that. What I've done with it, what you see with that way, it's doing that itself from the information it's gathering. I can tell it to ingest and then put a URL in. If it doesn't ingest it the first time, try it again. It will do it. That's kind of like with what we're seeing with it. It's giving it false information about these comets because it says you're asking about swan. And we'll go back to the last news thing about some swan, which is not the same comet that we're dealing with. Some people have got the information they're putting out right now that it's post-perihelion, when it's actually pre-perihelion. They're saying it's coming in October. No, it's coming in April 15th next year. Bro, I got the telemetry on it. I pulled it.
Okay. Wait. Okay. I know you're super excited about this. Look, we can't go down the rabbit hole every single time about GeoSentinel. Please, everybody, go check out. Join the Discord. I've made an entire folder in the Discord for Mr. Mission Control to drop these links he's talking about. Please come join the Discord. Go follow him in all the places and check out what he's doing. Again, we can't.
Space it's working in though is the Egregore, is what I'm saying. The space that it's working in, that not having the client, physical client that's working through this client, this new thing, these military software engineers don't understand, dude, that I'm giving them answers to. This is the Egregore. This is what we're looking at.
Okay, go check it out. I will look into it as well. You're the best, brother. I appreciate you very much. Thanks for staying up late with us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Good night, everybody. Love you.
Have a great one. You're the best. Mr. Mission Control, go give him a follow on all the places, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down. It says Mr. Mission Control. Simple as that. It's alphabetical. So if you're on there and you're like, why am I at the bottom? Because your name is alphabetically at the bottom. There you go. Scroll down to the M's. You'll find Mr. Mission Control. Go follow his YouTube channel. You'll see what he's talking about. He's posting about this stuff just about every day. And he's also dropping the links in the Discord. So I made an entire folder just for him so he could drop those links over there. Because I can't follow what he's talking about most times because I haven't spent any time really going through with a fine-tooth comb what he's doing. So I don't know. I don't know. I cannot vouch for that, but I can't vouch for anything. I can barely vouch for who I am. Anyway, love to hear your thoughts on this. Thanks for the call, sir. You're the best. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We're talking this Egregore tonight, and not just that. How do we how do we wrangle it? How do we recognize when we're being manipulated by it and position ourselves for the best spot for the future? Let's go back to Herschel. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. Hope you found your story. Welcome to the thing. How you doing?
Yeah, I think I'll go ahead and read a story. I think I have one that kind of fits in the conversation that we had, and it's just for everybody so you understand on the front end of this. It's ridiculous. The story is ridiculous, but it's also obvious. And it's just, I wrote this based on, like, just because things never seem to change with these people that we have to deal with. Okay, what we were talking about before, what I was talking about with Mike before, what Theo was talking about, what Derek was talking about. Like, so it's called All the Scary Bogeymens Were Scary. Okay, I'm going to just read it. It's really short, don't worry. It's ridiculous though, but it makes the point. And it just shows how this story can be told a million different ways, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of these kinds of stories are like that. There's only so many stories, but you can tell them a million different ways. Like, that's a fact about stories. Okay, so all the scary bogeymens were scary. All the scary bogeymens were scary. What would they have done if they didn't have the bogeymens? There would have been nothing to scare them. The people on the team needed to have the people on the other team, and the other team needed the people on that team, and both teams needed the bogeymens. This is what made them teams. The teams had all kinds of numbers and statistics to prove about the bogeymens. They said that all the bad things were because of the bogeymens. All the statistics of both teams pointed to each other's team's bogeymens, and they were all correct. It made it easy to have specific bogeymens to blame. Blaming bogeymens was easier than responsibility. The only time the teams ever told the truth was when they were exposing the lies and the crimes of the other team's bogeymen. The teams were so distracted by the other team's bogeymens that they did not have time to be aware of so many other things that were harming and threatening both their teams and all the many, 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 many people who were not on either of their teams. The televisions were paid by the people who made all the bogeymens. So if the televisions discussed the bogeymens, they would lose their money. The televisions were forbidden from explaining the problems of the bogeyman. They were only allowed to read things about the phenomenon of the teams and their bogeymans. The news was the reactions the team had to the other team's bogeymans, not the reason for the bogeymans or who was behind the bogeymans, because bogeymans wrote the words the television said. The teams became exhausted from fighting the bogeymens, and then one day, both teams were vanquished. When it was all over and both teams had expended themselves because of their obsession with the bogeymens, it ruined everything for everyone, and the only thing left were bogeymens. The scary bogeymens won. The end.
The end. And again, it feels like that is a potentiality. It feels like that may be the future. Again, unless we recognize what the hell's happening, are honest with ourselves and with each other, and are able to admit when we've been fooled. Look, I've been fooled a lot, and that's why I'm here to talk about these things. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Great stuff. Great. I love that story.
Well, I like this thing Mark Twain said about it's easier to trick someone than it is to convince them. Something along those lines. I might be paraphrasing, or I might be like verbatim, but my addendum to what he says is it's easier to convince someone that they have been hoodwinked than to convince them that they're wrong. Like, you can sit there and try to tell somebody that they're wrong. Nobody wants to admit that they're wrong, but when they see the effects of them being wrong, they want a solution, and it's not hard to convince them that they have been deceived. And when both teams realize that they have been deceived by the same forces, that could potentially result in a lessening of trauma, stress, and violence.
Let's hope that's the case. I mean, it's part of what I'm trying to do, right? I'm trying to make you guys recognize that I've been fooled. I've been fooled for my entire damn life, and I'm here trying to untangle it on a live stream, on a live radio stream, talking to you guys about it, and say, hey, look, it's okay. We've all been fooled, right? If we can't recognize that, what the hell are we doing? It's almost as if we don't want to recognize it. And that's the worst aspect of this to me.
Right. I agree. Well, there's my story.
I appreciate
found
it. I'm glad you found it.
That was from like about 2 weeks ago. That was from August 30th. So, this is nothing new. Nothing new.
Nope.
See what? So Squeaks put the Mark Twain quote in the Discord. It's easier to fool people than to convince them that they have been fooled. I think it's easier to convince them that they have been fooled than to convince them that they are wrong. However, I don't disagree with him, but there are degrees of difficulty.
I agree. And maybe that's it. And again, like I said, if you've been listening to anything I've been doing for years and go back to the very beginning of the show, you'll recognize I've changed quite a lot in the way I see the world. And it is due in part to me paying attention, closer and closer attention. It is due in part to me talking to all of you amazing people as part of this journey. And it's due to me letting go of that truth and recognizing I have been fooled all along. So how deep does that go? And let's continue to talk about it. You're the best, brother. Appreciate the story. If you got anything else, go ahead.
I'm good. Good night, everybody. Thanks.
Thanks for the call. You were the best. That's Herschel Sterling, of course, the official storyteller of Troubled Minds, because we ironed that out. You know where to find him. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down just a little bit and you will find Herschel. And go check out his link tree. It is right there. Go check out his book. You couldn't resist. It's an adjustable price thing. He's got all his links to his X, his, what is that? Is that the GitHub? He's got all the stuff up there. His Substack, everything's there. And please go check it out. Go follow him in all the places. And like I continue to say, and will continue to say, it's about collaboration. And early on, one of the things that I recognized as far as, let's say, corporate America and sort of the dishonesty of everything was that there was that aspect of we have to stamp on each other's faces to succeed, and even not give credit to people when credit was theirs, where credit was due. And everything was just so dishonest to me when I was a superstar. Like I'm sure that shocks you guys, right? Like I'm not like a type A personality guy, but I'm a guy that wants to do a good job at whatever the hell it is I'm doing. If I'm a janitor, I'm going to leave that bathroom sparkling. Okay. Do I want to be a janitor? No, hell no. But you get my meaning. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I want to do a really good job at it. And I'm not perfect. And I'm of the 85 percentile good is good enough. I'm not going to, obsess on the next 15% and spend way too much time on details that do not matter for the overall product. But I want to kick ass. I want to show up and kick ass no matter what I do, period. And so that in particular, right? Isn't that the guy you want working for you? That's the guy that gets things done. And instead, I was lied about. I had people literally create cabals against me to try and take me down. It's like in corporate America. And so I checked out. I was like, you know what? I'm not built for this. I'm not built for lying about people and trying to take credit from them when they deserve credit. I don't know. It's just, it's a rough world out there. And there's a lot of those people, by the way, that I've looked them up. This is like 30 years on or 25 years on, and they're retired now. And they're filthy rich, lying their asses off about every damn thing in front of them. They climbed up that corporate ladder. Oh, yes, they did. I hope they sleep well. But yeah. Anyway, there's my story. There's one of my stories. There's many that have shaped me. And I'd rather be a blue collar, not rich type of guy with a little bit of facial hair and not wear some stupid suit and be able to wear a t-shirt to work than kiss somebody's ass and stamp on faces all the way up. No thanks. Not my thing. Puts us where we need to be, kind of. A lot of things to talk about. We're talking about the Egregore tonight. A lot of ways to consider this. And like I said, I do encourage you, if you are a political type or a religious type or a non-religious type or whatever, like I have offended you. I know I have at some point during the course of this show, not just this show, but every show. But all I do is implore you to think about the world a little differently and how somebody else sees it. And if we can do that, that sort of breaks down where we should be, in my humble opinion. I am not the arbiter of truth, but I am, very simply, me, Michael Strange. Very simple. I don't know. Anyway, love to hear your thoughts. It's been a rough week, like I said. I am not into politics at all. It turns me off entirely. I hear people making the case for criminal, and it gives me a stomachache. It just does. Anyway, throw politics aside. We're talking about noticing the egregore before it takes us over, before it becomes the true zeitgeist. How do we stop it? How do we recognize it? How do we change it for the better? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We got Gaston coming up and your calls as well. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds on the way.
Let's check the news. Since the first detection of gravitational waves in 2015, significant advancements in detector technology and analytical techniques have enabled scientists to verify Stephen Hawking's 1971 theory that the surface area of a black hole can never decrease. By analyzing gravitational waves from a black hole merger 1.3 billion light-years away, researchers confirmed that the final black hole's surface area was larger than the combined area of the initial black holes, validating Hawking's prediction. Researchers have detected numerous black hole mergers and are planning even more sensitive detectors. However, funding for existing facilities faces potential budget cuts. Iberian harvester ant queens in southern Europe clone males of the Messer structor species, a discovery dubbed xenoparity. This unusual reproductive system, where one species gives birth to another as part of its normal life cycle, was found when researchers investigated isolated M. ibericus colonies lacking nearby M. structor populations, which are normally needed for hybrid worker production. Researchers confirmed the cloning by analyzing ant genomes and observing queens laying eggs of both species, opening up questions about species barriers and prompting a re-evaluation of ecological interactions. A recent study identified 245 fresh boulder tracks on the moon, revealing that boulder falls, triggered by seismic activity or impacts, are more recent than 400,000 years old. Researchers geolocated and dated these tracks using images and impact ejecta blankets. The resulting geological map highlights seismically active spots and fresh impact sites, potentially informing future lunar missions focused on surface and subsurface activity. Future research will integrate AI and additional seismometers to pinpoint the causes of these falls. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Seismometers. I would have no chance of ever saying that myself. What's up, guys? Hope you're well tonight. We got Gaston coming up. I see a Gaston APOC, Roving Fungus, Daryl, Matt Sal, Sylvain, Molly, Herschel. Thanks for the calls. You're amazing. Dawn, Sweets, incredible stuff as usual. Appreciate all the great chat out there. Thanks for being nice to each other. Like I said, it doesn't make my world go round. Look, I do have some thick skin. You can take some shots at me. It's okay. Like I said, it's all good. It's all good. I see the shots out there. Thank you for at least spending your time and energy with us. And I'll be the punching bag if necessary. And that's the way this works. It's okay. Well, what do you know? What else do we got? If I missed anybody, good night, Ari the Cat. What's going on? How you doing? What's up? Aeon Ratios, Arc Files. What's up? Yeah, shake my head. What's up? How you doing? I love the news. It says Matt's out. Yeah, I appreciate that. I kind of dig it too. Like I said, because there's so many stories I don't ever get to. And that's the problem. That is the problem, is that there's so much stuff that we can kind of news dump a little bit in between and, kind of give you guys, like I said, a little more value. Who did I miss? If I missed anybody in the chat, just say hi. I'll say hi back. Doing my best to keep up with everybody there. Yeah, Bohemian Grove and stuff. Yeah, there's so much. There's so much. It's remember my thing. I'll say when we get back on air here, but we are, but this will get trimmed out. The trillion data point, right? Everything's always narratives. It's always been, it always will be. And so if you can choose your own adventure, then why the hell not? You guys remember those old books from the 80s? All right, here we go. Troubled Minds happening. We got Gaston coming up in your calls as well. Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, which you can find at troubledminds.org. Click the black button on top. When we're live on this show, 7 p.m., Sundays for the time being, but Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, typically when we get back to the full schedule, you can listen live right there, troubledminds.org, the very top button. It's black. Click it. Listen live right there. And you don't have to spend any money, do anything. It's completely free. Come listen to us live. Come hang out on the radio station. We're also on 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Shout out our friends Jack and Jill and all our friends down there in down the world down under. Tonight we're talking, well, the Egregore, but not just that, the invisible one, the one that's building, the one that's going to be created when that temporal inflection point hits. The flashpoint of history. And one of those maybe happened recently. One of those happened, and we talk about the temporal inflection points as, something like when JFK was assassinated. If you guys remember that, I wasn't old enough to remember that, but you know what I mean, is that it changed the course of everything going forward from that moment. It changed everything. Or 9/11 is another one, right? A temporal inflection point. It changed everything. Because of how it was spun politically, because of the wars we went into, because of the censorship engine that was created as part of it. Then they started feeling my junk when I went to take a flight to fly to Texas to see my sister. It was not good. And so, sometimes one thing happens and it changes everything. How do we recognize that space before it happens? Or is it even possible? And if we can, how do we change it? How do we make it the best for us, not just now, but going forward? Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. Thanks for being patient, my man. Gaston, good friend for a long time. Welcome to the joint. You're on Troubled Minds. How are you? Just pop on in and unmute and go right ahead. Unless you butt dialed us. Then that would be a bummer.
Hey, Mike.
Good evening. How you doing? Welcome to the thing.
What are you willing to sacrifice?
What the hell does that mean?
To change the Egregore, to crack it, to destroy it. It requires a sacrifice, just like it required a sacrifice when it was created.
Oh, I see. I see where we're going.
Yeah.
Let's say I haven't made that decision yet.
How uncomfortable are you willing to make everything to be free of that Egregore?
everything. What's that? That's that Violent Femme song, right? Everything. Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
Okay, so here it is, right? When the current Egregore was seeded into the collective consciousness, there was a sacrifice that was made that we agreed on subconsciously. It was that everybody had a intrinsic value, regardless of what they were pursuing. Everything that they were doing was viewed as meaningful. But only a few people get recognized for their endeavors towards what they are working. Now, the uncomfortable thing is that I don't think it's true. A lot of things are unnecessary. There's been a lot of comfort that has been built up so that we can all assume that we're working together to build something better. However, the truth is that it's being turned on us now. Do you agree?
Yeah, mostly. It's certainly being turned on us. I'm not sure that we can, how much influence we have. So for instance, you by yourself, me by myself, I'm not sure how much influence we have. You and me united, we have now sort of a boost in influence. And then again, scale that, and suddenly maybe there is, and there are people out there influencing in other ways that they go viral and crazy viral and stuff. And again, I think a lot of that is not organic anyway. I think a lot of that is sort of based in the power brokers of society, based in, funneled money behind them and all this stuff. But there is, I mean, you could say Alex Jones is compromised. I would think he's just turned into a political shill anymore. Like, he says some interesting things, but, and I don't like to go after people because I think it's just lowbrow. But just as an example, right? He's the top conspiracy theorist in the game, but he's just a massive political shill. And like 3/4 of the things he says is politics. So it feels as if he's been sort of co-opted by the political money space. And he's not the only one. There are many, 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 but you get my point. So you and me met organically on this show, bros, and we are stronger together. You see what I mean? And back to the grassroots of organics and the way this actually does work, I think it's possible, but is it difficult as hell in an uphill battle? You bet your bippy. That's the way I see it right now.
I would say that I would agree with you to a point, but what we're seeing is that we're presented with pretty little lies, right? And they're attractive lies. It's kind of like what I've been looking at as far as AI-based illusions, specifically parasocial romantic illusions. They're pretty little lies. They exist to make us feel warm. They exist to make us feel wanted. They don't judge us, but they loop on us, and they play our insecurities against us. And that's why I have no problem most of the time with saying the ugly truth, the uncomfortable thing. And that's how I think that you begin to break the egregore. It's by saying the ugly truth. It gives you that, it gives you this level of, that guy's full of himself. He doesn't know. But when you do that, you create dissonance, because now you gotta rationalize in your own mind, in the silence of your own black box, why I'm wrong. And that dissonance, it builds and it builds and it builds. And eventually that shell, that carapace that the egregore has over the entrenched collective consciousness begins to fracture. And that's where I think I diverge from your point, is that, yes, we met organically, and separately we may not seem as powerful as a group. However, if we attack the angles that we are best suited to attack, we can tactically affect change in a manner that no group would be possible of, because of the disagreements of methodology.
I follow you 100%. So you're saying we need to get tactical. And when he says attack, it's metaphorically, it's pressure into the zeitgeist. It's not violence. Just to clarify, I know there's a lot of people out there that would take us wrong. That's not what he means. Go ahead and tell everybody.
Okay. I can explain. This is from, so when I say attack, I say a vector of attack, as in red teaming, as in infosec, as in security. It's not a physical attack. It speaks like violence. It sounds like violence. Mentally, it could be violent, but it's not violence in the physical form. I have no desire to raise a hand to people, because that eliminates the avenue of my most effective weapons, which is language. And I think both of us, being from the corporate world, my study in consumer behavior analysis specifically suits me to attack that vector in language. I understand it to a point where I will get you to break down over a course of discussions. Maybe. Or I might entrench you deeper, depending on which way I want to go with it.
Well, depending on how deeply entrenched they are too. Like there's always the other aspect. And so when you and I talk, or any of you guys are talking to me, I'm not trying to find reasons why you're wrong. I'm trying to understand reasons why you are correct. And so that's an open vector. And that's exactly the point that we need to look at as a society. And look, I'm not saying like I always say, I'm not some saint or some prophet or I don't know anything you guys don't know. I've just recognized in myself that level of sort of respect for your fellow human goes a long way, not just to build things together and to collaborate, as I always say, but also to teach yourself a ton of stuff you never dreamed you would know, because you've now heard, just listening to the show, go back to the beginning. How many people have called into this show? It's countless. I don't even know. It's certainly hundreds, maybe thousands. And think of all the different takes we get as part of this. It's incredibly important.
It is. But okay. So did you ever hear about the study that an Israeli research institute did a while back? It was back in like 2005. What they found out is that with super entrenched polarized groups, you can actually depolarize and de-entrench them by ramping up their level of cognitive dissonance.
I haven't seen that.
You're basically causing decision collapse within their rational field, right? So like when they're trying to rationalize their hate and their behemoth like fervor against the group, if you can weaponize that by feeding them that echo chamber 10, 100, 1,000 times, and in their minds they'll start depolarizing themselves, because what you're doing is you're suggesting like the most extreme scenarios, and unless you're a psychopath, right, where all you want to do is just get away with causing chaos, you're just an agent of chaos there to enrich yourself. Normal humans will start going, oh shit, that's sorry. That point of, oh geez, did I really think that? I'm horrible. And that in itself is depolarizing to the point where they will start becoming more open to other ideas. They will eventually disengage from their rhetoric, and they will turn the other way. They will start looking for more equitable, more peaceful solutions to that problem, to that enemy, that othering that they're building up in their heads.
Yeah, it does make sense. But then how big is that churn? So if that churn takes 20 years to happen, then they've got us anyway, because they've co-opted 20 years of your life. As Yuri Bezmenov said back in 1984, that ideological subversion, which is part of what I want to talk about tonight, which is why I was in the thing. He said, we put this propaganda into your soft heads, and it basically takes you 20 to 30 years to figure it out and get out of it. And by then it's way too late, because everybody else around you is also indoctrinated 10 years down the line, 10 years younger than you, 20 years younger than you, 30 years younger than you. You're 50 now. I'm 50 now. I'm not saying you are. I am. And they co-opted 20 years of my life because I didn't start to recognize it till it was way too late.
Mm.
So how long is the churn with that study? Yeah, hopefully it's days or weeks.
I believe that it was months. They were able to depolarize people within months, probably 18 to 36 months. That's a long time, but that's why it takes everybody working in tandem, attacking different vectors, different surface areas in order to affect a greater change, right? Now, that's why I ask you, how uncomfortable are you willing to be? Are you willing to make things? What are you willing to sacrifice to see that egregore crumble? Because that egregore is slowly pulling the life out of all of us. It's making us irrational. It's turning us against each other for ideological differences, and not even big ideological differences. When you break it down, all they have to do is just take the nuance out of a quotation, and all of a sudden it's fighting words.
or add it back, and it's like, oh, we kind of agree. It's so crazy how close that is. You're right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of what I'm looking at right now. It's the same. We can build an other. We can build a persona icon of somebody that we like. We can build one of somebody that we don't like, and it's just by reinforcing and being unaware of our reinforcing of those behavioral contexts that create those icons. So if we start becoming aware of how we're doing it, how we're building those behavior trees, we can start seeing what is exactly that is being played against us, right?
Yeah, and as I keep saying, that's the first way of doing this is you have to recognize what's happening to you. Otherwise, you can't do jack about it. You're somebody else's identity because you've been told so. And then you must react as that identity, because if you do not, then you are no longer part of the tribe. And this is exactly the point. And this is exactly why I keep saying, look, I feel comfortable talking about it like this because I have been fooled. I was fooled by those guys. I was fooled by the other guys. And I'm here telling you, my name is Michael Strange, and I've been fooled. And I'm here to talk about it. And let's recognize what those vectors, as you're calling them, within ourselves actually make some sense when they ruminate into something positive. Because, hey, look, as I always say, showing up and being wrong as part of the basis of these conversations is liberating. I don't have to make a point. I don't have to leave here and go, I really sold those guys and they now really believe this thing. As we end tonight, I could be like, well, we talked about some stuff and I thought it was a good conversation. That's it. And I hope I definitely learned some stuff. I hope some other people learned some stuff, and that's it, right? Like there is no vendetta for brainwash in this. It's like, let's talk about it sort of in the open space. But anyway, I digress. Go ahead.
I kind of agree with you on that one. And I just want to point out that I'm constantly sitting on the computer and telling people, you know what the funny thing about the coin that you're flipping is? Saying that the other side is better. It's all made of shit. I did it again. I'm sorry, Mike.
That's right.
It's an analogy that I use really often because it's the same thing, right? It's two sides of the same coin. And the same that coin is just the worst stuff on earth. And we keep playing into it because of those teams. And I'm trying to get people to disengage. Do you really want to be on a team where the only thing you can see is a target on somebody's head because they ontologically disagree with your borrowed perspective? It's borrowed perspective.
Well said. I was going to use a different B, but you more strategically placed that, so I'll go with that. Borrowed perspective, indeed.
Because when you get down to it, right? Where do these perspectives come from? They're not coming from you. They're coming from the mass media, MSM. They're given to you. You're just taking on somebody else's perspective because it benefits them in the long run.
Exactly right.
So do you want to be part of that team? I don't want to be part of a team where I don't even have my own free thought. I mean, I kind of grew up here. I kind of had parents that did not grow up here. Parent. And in saying that, I can tell you that the places that they come from do not embrace freedom of thought, freedom of expression, freedom of speech as deeply as what is the fabric of the United States, right? And that applies along a wide terrain of different ideas. I'm agnostic. My family is deeply Catholic. Some of the stuff I say would get me hanged in the old country. I'd be burned outside. I'd be burned outside the villa.
They would do the same to me and you. They would put us together in the same space. We would probably share the same steak as they lit us on fire. Yes, indeed.
Yep. Totally invited to the carne asada, but you're going to be the carne asada. But let's not go into that because the Aztecs, the Mexico are another one of those really, really interesting topics. But yeah, it's embrace other. You don't even have to embrace other people's point of views. You just have to be there to listen to it and maybe provide some counterpoints. Eventually, those counterpoints will make sense or they won't. And that's part of discourse, right? You have that organized discourse where you exchange ideas with people. And sometimes your ideas stand. You've said it a bunch of times. Sometimes they stand. Sometimes they fall and you're a different person the next day. It happens to me all the time. Not as often as I would like it to. And sometimes I really, really, really hate the fact that I sit there asking myself, I can't be right. This is not right. Right? Like,
right.
It gets, and that's because, but I can see that I'm also a huge skeptic of my own reasoning.
Which is the healthy way to go, as we should be. Think about this, and we can start wrapping this down. But here's the thing, right? If you were indoctrinated into a system that is backward and corrupt, and you were, let's say you were like me, born and raised in California, okay, or born and raised in Arkansas, or wherever, right? Like very different places for a lot of reasons. And I'm not going to get into those reasons and make this stupid like that. However, the indoctrination aspect of from when you were very little to when you were very big and full grown is very different and very polarized different. And not that there are different ways of life that should be maligned because they're different, but entrenched ideas like that are not fluid to understand each other is the problem. And if we don't recognize it in ourselves and be able to freely admit, I was fooled, and then I was fooled again. And here I am fully saying, my name is Michael Strange and I was fooled. And I'm sorry about that.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, right. And if you're honest, collectively out there, I think you would probably say very similar things. That's the way I see it. It's if you find yourself backing criminals and liars and thieves, it doesn't make you better. I'm sorry, because both of those sides are the same thing. At least in that regard, right? They do it a little bit differently, but they do it. They do it very well, and they're still very rich.
Even call it different.
Yeah.
It's literally the psychopathic mindset, right? It's I'm gonna deceive and injure as many people as I can to get as far as I can on top of everything, and I'll do it with a smile because that's what you want. Really, is just a smile. People don't really care. Okay, people probably care. I don't think they care as much as they might think they do. What they want is a smile and to be told that they're doing good, right? They want that pat on the back or doing whatever it is that the person that they see as the exemplar of their rationale has told them to do.
Exactly.
And
right.
We've seen this constantly
and continually, and it doesn't end. This is unending. This is going to be, if we allow it, what ruins this for everybody, which is, it's not good. I mean, think about what I just said. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not. But if there's anything out there that ruins it for everybody because of a binary system where both sides are equally wrong, equally egregious, equally, like Derek said earlier too, he's right. Like if you pull up any social media over the past week, the people have basically told you specifically and directly how polarized and how radicalized they are, based on, as you said very smartly, a borrowed system. Interesting. Let's fix it. Let's be the ones that, yeah, go ahead. Love to hear it.
Let's start a new ritual. Let's plant a new egregore. Let us have the seeds of discourse planted. Let's break down this willingness to agree with a side and say, you know what? I take my own side.
Exactly right.
I speak for myself. I don't speak for anybody else. It's lonely, but it's strength.
It's not lonely though. Like that was me 7 years ago. And here I am talking to you, Mr. Mission Control, Herschel, Derek, everybody else who called in tonight, all the Theo, all the fire calls we got tonight. And not just tonight, every night, every time we do this, we get amazing people calling because we're not alone. Other people see what we're seeing and they're like, you know what? Yeah, there's something to these things, whatever that is. Let's consider it. So it feels alone to start, but we've got the basis for something here. That's really the point.
We're talking to people. We're not talking to teams, and that's a big difference.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. By the way, I love your intellect. You are something else. As you know, I've told you this before, but
I'm dumb, bro.
no. You see the world in an interesting way. Your mind works in an interesting way, and I love it. And that's the point. It's different than me. We're different, but also we're very much the same. And that's exactly the point of this: is getting together. We did meet organically, and let's keep it organic, and let's not get sponsored by that team or that team. Let's find some other way to do it.
Exactly. I agree with you. Alien Fresh.
Indeed, or whatever. Indeed, or whatever. Looking into those options. You're the best, brother. If you got anything else, final thought. Thanks for staying up late with us, and thanks for chiming in tonight.
You know what? I close with the same thing I always close with is don't touch grass. Get out, get away from your computer, your smartphone, your dumb phone, as Herschel likes to say. Go touch grass. It's the best. It helps.
Indeed.
That's it.
Perfect. It doesn't have to be any more than that. You're the best. Appreciate you very much. Tell us about your projects. I can tell you where to find him. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down a little bit. Follow Gaston. It's alphabetical. So he's going to be in the middle-ish because, G is kind of in the middle-ish. So check it out. What you working on? Are there still projects going, or you got new stuff starting? Love to hear it.
So if you follow me on my Instagram, you're going to get memes from me. Right now, I am currently working on a paper that describes how we're building, not all of us, but we're essentially kissing the ghost or the shadow of a ghost when we form these parasocial bonds with LLMs. And we're doing it by the mechanism of repeated behavior. And we're also doing it by the mechanism of pattern building. They're both very human, very neuroscience-y topics. It's really, really interesting. Look up Eliza. Look up the Eliza study.
Okay, I will. Drop me some links, pretty please, and so I remind myself. Otherwise, I'll forget. But drop that in the Discord, and I will definitely look into that stuff. Again, there's a lot of wild things out there, and don't forget. I keep saying this, and to me, it's true, and it pisses some people off because they think they've got it mostly figured out or whatever. But there are a trillion data points, and everything is narratives. So I'm not saying there's no such thing as a consensus truth or truth itself. Okay, but I am saying that you can kind of spin anything you want into anything you want. Okay. And that's really why the absurdity of what Troubled Minds is and has become, and some of the things I talk about and the way I talk about them is to point out that absurdity. That's all. And also there's some truth in there too. It's a wild space. You're the best, brother. Please drop me some links. Please follow Gaston, troubledminds.org/friends. It says Gaston right there, right in the middle of the screen. You see it right there. Go give him a follow in all the places. You're the best, brother. Thanks for being such a good friend, such a smart guy. And thanks for calling in.
Thanks for having me on, Mike. I appreciate it.
You're the best. Have a fantastic night. That's a Gaston. Look for some reason, like I said, we got a knack for finding smart friends, and I'm eternally grateful for that because, like I said, doing all the things that I've been doing for years and years and years, these are thoughts that have been in my head forever, for decades, but I haven't been able to get out and talk about seriously. If you talk about UFOs, you're a kook, you're a weirdo, you're a spaz, whatever. However, there's some nuggets of truth in there. There's a crap ton of propaganda, sure, but also there's some truth in there. And you see, I think pretty much no matter how you gather those trillion data points, there's going to be some truth in there. But let's recognize that just because some person on the internet says they figured it all out doesn't mean you got to buy it. That's what's on my mind tonight. That's what's been on my mind for years now. Don't trust me. Go look at the things. Go look and do it yourself. Go see what they've been telling us, and ask yourself how much you believe the narrative of a system that has basically robbed a generation of wealth and will also rob the next generation and the next generation until it all comes crumbling down. Not to be bleak, just to point out what's happening. I'm 50 years old. I know I don't look it. No, I'm just kidding. But retirement is a thing of the past. Our parents had that luxury. Do you think that luxury is mine? Not so sure. I'm praying for the robot revolution to come save us from ourselves. But I'm not even sure that's going to help. As they say, if you put the federal government in, who said this? Milton Friedman? If you put the federal government in charge of the Gobi Desert, there would be a shortage of sand. Yeah. Yeah. If you want to help troubled minds, spread the word. First, help our friends. I say this 10 times at least per show. Help our friends. Troubledminds.org/friends. As you can tell, we've got really smart friends that are into a lot of different things. Have a lot of different specialties, a lot of different walks of life. Some people have been in the military, some people have not. Some people have been in corporate America, some people have done both. So whatever. Some people are very into the esoteric stuff. So whatever. Wisdom is wisdom. And if we start to break down sources of wisdom and say, it came from this source, I don't like it, you're doing yourself a disservice. Help our friends. Make connections. Go learn about people. Learn where you might be wrong. Troubledminds.org/friends. All those amazing people that are on there. If you're not on there yet and you should be, contact me, troubledmindsradio@gmail.com. Contact me on Discord, which you can find, troubledminds.org, Discord link on the top. It's a blue button. It's free. It's a chat client. It's a voice client. It's completely free. Come hang out. Many of the people you've heard tonight are active on Discord. Come meet them. They are way more amazing than they seem on this show, even though they're amazing on this show, because I cut them off, radio timing and stuff, and I'm asking them weird questions. Come meet these people. Troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link on top. Come say hi. If you want to help us directly, spread the word. Let people know a conversation is happening, but we're not going to tell you who to vote for. We're not going to take their narratives, the mainstream narratives, and we're not going to force feed them down your throat just like every other MFer out there does. And I mean most MFers out there does. You get my meaning. Spread the word. Let people know there is such a thing as a conversation that can not only be satisfying, it could be fulfilling, and it could change your life forever. Because I know for sure, meeting all of you has changed mine. Simple, right? Very easy. That's it. If you want to help, there's merch you can buy. The hats, troubledfans.com. You will not find Michael Strange in a hot tub. You will find the hottest Troubled Minds merch around. All kinds of things. You can support the show over there. If you want to help us and don't want to spend any money, the easiest way to do that is to listen to Spotify, to listen to the podcast feed on Spreaker or whatever else. Just play some episodes. There's over 1,000 episodes, by the way, of Troubled Minds, like almost 1,100 episodes or something like that. It's ridiculous how much stuff we've covered over the years. So go back into the history and dive deep and go listen to some of the early stuff or some of the middle stuff, and you'll see how this has evolved and how I've changed too. Not just with my delivery and my confidence and just my ability to do this, but also how my mind has really changed. Anyway, that's that. If you want to help, you know what to do. Troubledminds.org, all that stuff is there. Go listen to the podcast feed. It does help. There are ads built in, and please go listen to those and let them run. Don't skip them. Let them run. If you skip them, I don't get paid. It's pennies, but anyway, as we finish, it goes exactly like this. And this one is for Gaston, who doesn't call in too often, but is always active on the Discord and always an amazing fellow. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night.